Hello, everyone here and at home. We will open the Board of Commissioner regular meeting February 19th, 2026 at 7:14 p.m. First item on the agenda. Second item, roll call, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Roberts. Commissioner Hall. Commissioner Buffalini. Vice Mayor McDonald. Mayor Anderson.
Present. Item number 3 is prayer and pledge. Dear Lord, we just come to you as a board overseeing this wonderful city of Fairview. And we just thank you for all of the efforts and work that's been going on to clean up our beautiful city after the storms. We pray that the impact is light and the people get back to normal living, and just thank the people who are coming out to help and neighbors helping neighbors. Please guide us tonight as we make decisions for this city, and just be with our staff and this board in everything we do. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4 is mayor's comments. I just appreciate everyone here tonight. We have a good crowd and appreciate all that are watching at home. Just know that you can watch the meeting on Fairview Facebook and also on YouTube after the fact, because as we go through our new zoning ordinance and public hearings and just talking about this new ordinance, we want as many people to get involved as they can in our community to help us make great decisions for our citizens. So please just, know that you can watch it after the fact and be a part of this. Thank you to Officer Ray Martin for being here, watching over us and keeping us safe. And as with all of that, we will begin our meeting. Number 5 is citizens' comments.
We have 3 tonight, Mayor. First, Janet Gatewood.
If you would, please state your name and address, and if you live in the city or county.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Commissioners, City Manager, City employees, and citizens of Fairview. I'm Janet Gatewood, 7012 City Center Way. I'm in the city limits. I'd like to start by congratulating Mayor Lisa Anderson and former Mayor Patty Carroll for your incredible success securing Ascension Medical Campus and ER here in Fairview. This is a milestone moment for our community, and I understand that you both spent about 8 months working to secure this for Fairview. Years ago, I called on different builders trying to get a 55-plus community started here. They were all waiting for a hospital. This huge economic development success will have incredible positive impacts for our community and will save lives as well. Fairview is special because of people like Mayor Anderson and former Mayor Carroll. Your commitment to Fairview is unmatched. But I might have a close second with our city manager, Dougherty, and with Mr. Wayne Hall as well. Fairview is the positive changes that you have both brought to our community is why my husband and I moved here. For those on the Board of Commissioners who are relatively new to Fairview, I'm guessing you chose Fairview for some of the same reasons, which is why I'm surprised at your lack of support for these 2 accomplished, driven, and successful individuals. Last week, I decided to watch the last Board of Commissioners meeting. I was surprised to see such aggressive behavior from 2 members of this board toward beloved Mayor Patty Carroll, former mayor. Anyone who did not see the meeting on February 5th, I encourage you to take the time to watch it. It's available on YouTube. 2 of our commissioners questioned her for over an hour with an unexpected tone. I wondered if this was a pattern, so I started watching meetings all the way back to last summer, and I observed a consistent pattern of disproportionate and unnecessary scrutiny directed specifically toward Mayor Carroll from the same two commissioners. The other city employees were not treated the same way. The attitude and behavior that repeats at every meeting where she is in attendance is often disrespectful, condescending, and almost accusatory of wrongdoing. I'm still taken aback at how aggressively this has happened to her over and over, meeting after meeting. I saw it play out tonight before this meeting. The city charter only gives the board authority over the city manager. Mayor Carroll was treated as if she reports directly to you, being asked to account at one point for each hour of her week. I bet if she accounted for every hour, her work week would encompass 50 to 60 hours easily. She was gracious, patient, and calmly and respectfully answered each of your questions. But she wasn't required to do that. I applaud her for staying strong and positive under that level of pressure. One question from last summer was challenging the word community in her title. Everyone knows that your network is your net worth, and she has to be out in the community every chance she gets to advocate for Fairview and build relationships. If it wasn't in her title before, it should be now. It's critical to her role. People will not do business with you unless they know you, like you, and trust you. Economic development, similar to fundraising, is 90% relationship building and 10% ask. The trip with Williamson Inc. to Minneapolis that was questioned several times was as much about networking with 100 or so people on the trip. It included business leaders, politicians, community leaders, as it was staying in the city of Minneapolis. Those relationships will pay dividends for years to come. Mayor Carroll was challenged about how many lunches, coffees, conferences, meetings that she attends. It's because she stepped into these meetings and started the coffees that I'm standing here today, a citizen of Fairview, involving myself in this matter. She has to be at every single event possible to build these relationships and bring economic development here. She met the CEO of Ascension at one of these events, and 8 months later, we have a commitment for a medical campus with an ER here in Fairview. There were concerns expressed in that meeting about ROI as Director of Economic Development. Never again will you have to worry about that with this latest accomplishment with Ascension from both Mayor Patty Carroll and Mayor Lisa Anderson. The effects will multiply in positive ROI for our great city for years to come. Someone on this commission stated that in 2 years we've seen zero return on investment, which I felt like was meant to demean and undermine Mayor Carroll's efforts to date. Anyone who has put business deals together knows it takes months and sometimes years, and that's especially true in commercial real estate, and it's no different when working with large corporations. It takes thoughtful time and attention to develop these relationships to the point of commitment. Confidentiality is also very critical. This is not about shielding anyone from accountability. It's about preserving proper governance structure, maintaining professionalism, and ensuring that our city functions effectively. Now, tough questions are part of leadership, but tone matters. Respect matters. Constructive oversight is appropriate. Repeated public undermining by individual commissioners is not. Therefore, I recommend this board make a formal motion to censure any future overreach from individual commissioners toward the Director of Economic Development that exceeds the scope of authority defined in the charter. Mayor Carroll has proven her worth to all of us. This needs to change to a positive work environment. We should all want to support her as she continues to make this community stronger. Any city would be proud to have someone of Mayor Carroll's experience, integrity, work ethic, and accomplishments serving as their Economic Director of Development, and we are fortunate to have her. We are also fortunate to have both Mayor Lisa Anderson and City Mayor Tom Doherty. Thank you both for your vision for Fairview, your years of service to our city, and your support of economic development. I was impressed as I watched Mr. Doherty handle a list of questions at the June 5th meeting about the efficacy of this position. I could tell he knows what our city needs. And as a business owner and resident, I appreciate his understanding and support of this key position. It's evident that both he and Mayor Anderson understand the role of Director of Economic Development is vital to every city for growth, expanding the tax base, and quality of life for the residents. Removing this position would take Fairview backwards, not forwards, and would also undermine the faith of companies that are looking at Fairview now. Fairview deserves leadership that builds, not divides, that makes us stronger, not weaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Andrew Mitchell.
My name is Andrew Mitchell, 7309 Buckhorn Court in the city of Fairview. I'm definitely not my first time being up here. I feel like you all could probably write my biography by now. But I was up here just, 7 or 8 months ago, last June, July, when I volunteered and as got on the citizen-led board of zoning appeals. So here I am again. I don't know why, but I placed my name on the May 5th primary ballot to become one of 2 county commissioners for this district, District 1, in this part of the county. So District 1 covers a very small area of Spring Hill, a little bit of Thompson Station, a very large swath of the unincorporated area of the county. That's Prim Springs, Boston, outside of Leapers Fork, and Fernvale area going to the north, and all of the city of Fairview. So everyone who's a citizen of Fairview can and should vote for me on May 5th. The reason I'm doing this, and I've said this before here, is I served our country in the military. After the military, that sense of service never leaves. So I just continually trying to get involved, volunteering at my kids' schools, volunteering at sporting events, volunteering anywhere I can. I came up here and said, hey, I'll volunteer for whatever you guys need. I stayed here after one thing didn't work out and volunteered for another. So, that's just what I'm doing, what I want to do. I saw a need and I see an opportunity to serve on a bigger stage now, and I'm going to try it out. If it doesn't work, I'll find somewhere else to volunteer. But that's my motivation to do it. There's nothing else there. As far as me and my beliefs, I've been a conservative Republican my entire life. I believe in all the party values. I largely fall in line with most of that. So if anyone wants to know what I believe, low taxes, low debt, small and limited government, individual rights and freedoms, the things that I should believe in as a conservative Republican. But along those same lines, I want to talk about something that our current county commissioners for District 1 did vote on as a resolution just recently on the county level. You all should know about this, and if you don't, I want to talk about it tonight. But they voted on a resolution and passed it that asked the state government to change the laws that you all use for annexing property and developing your urban growth boundary and the community growth plans. They are asking the state to give the county more influence over the municipalities. They want you to have to come to them with your plans for annexing property and get approval from the county body before you move forward. They also want to have more say-so in your urban growth boundary, which we already all work together. I know that that's how that works. They want citizens to be able to opt out of the urban growth boundary if that property owner has that property that has been part of the urban growth boundary. So this was a resolution. This wasn't a rule. This is something they asked the state to do. And the reason why there shouldn't be too much concern, from my opinion, is that I think there's enough conservative Republicans in our state house that will kill this before it ever becomes a change in law. And the reason why I believe that is because as a conservative, I don't think the answer to any issues that we currently see is more government control, more government red tape, more bureaucracy. I just don't see that as the answer. What I do see as the answer is what I've been doing over the past year, which is getting to know each and every one of you. And I can say that on a personal level, I do know each one of you. And I know a lot of our city staff as well. And I live here in the city and I want to be involved. So if I become a county commissioner, I propose that we just work together as best we can under sunshine. When sun shines in dark places, it provides light. I don't think that the county should be working against our cities, which, mind you, every other municipality in the county has spoken out publicly against this resolution. Every other city in this county thinks it's a bad idea to add more government control on a county level over what our municipalities are doing. You already have a very lengthy process for annexing land. If a property owner wants to do that, wants to become part of the city and receive city services, pay city taxes, they should have a right to do so. Again, that's a conservative value to have property owner rights. There's only one thing out of the resolution I do agree with, and that goes along with property owner rights, is if they did want, a property owner wanted to be removed from an urban growth boundary, that might be something to consider. I know that wouldn't be fairly easy if it caused donut holes here and there in the city. But, again, conservative values and property owner rights is where my beliefs align. So what I wanted to talk about tonight is, one, I am running to become part of the county commission as one of 2 people that serve this district. And 2, that there are things that our current county commissioners who serve this district are doing that I don't agree with as far as the city politics are concerned, and I just wanted you all to know about it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Last, we have Craig Cropper.
Good evening, board and city members. My name's Craig Cropper, 2480 Fairview Boulevard. What I was really going to talk about was the zoning ordinance and commend these folks for doing a great job. Everybody I've talked to, and myself included, really like what the future looks like here for me. I mean, I like the outline. I didn't really see anything that I didn't like about the whole process the other night at the planning commission meeting. The only thing I would ask that the property across the street from my house, 50 acres, Sullivan property, was originally it was zone 4 on the new codes. And when the map came up, it's 4C, which the difference is 6 units per acre or 16 units per acre, as that's my understanding. I would ask if and when this is voted on, that it be amended to 4 and not 4C. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Before the approval of the agenda, I've been asked to add resolution 09-26, if it pleases the board. That's a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute authorized user agreements for emergency debris removal and emergency debris monitoring services for the city of Fairview, Tennessee. We don't like to add right before a meeting, but our community, this is deemed an emergency, and I just asked the board if they would consider adding this tonight so that we can get started.
Motion to approve the agenda with the added resolution 0926 as,
Well, if I may, you need to make a motion to modify the agenda and then second and approve the modification and then adopt the agenda as modified.
thank you.
To 11G, item 11G, new business.
Thank you. Okay, so motion to modify the agenda to add resolution 0926 as item 11G on the agenda.
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Buffalini,
Aye.
Vice Mayor McDonald,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Okay, so we will have item 11G, resolution 0926 added.
Then a motion to approve the agenda
Second.
as modified.
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Roberts.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Buffalini,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Modification to item 6 is approved 5-0. Item number 7, public announcements, awards, and recognition. A, city events. Mr. Darty.
Thank you, Mayor. March 28th at 10 a.m. is the Easter egg hunt at Bowie Nature Park. We are currently accepting sponsors for this year's July 3rd event. If you or your business would like to be a sponsor, please contact Richard Ross at 615-387-6140 or email rross@fairview-tn.org. Thank you.
Item number 8, staff comments and monthly reports. A, city manager report. Mr. Darty.
Thank you, Mayor, Board. I just want to give a ice storm update. I've been in contact with Joshua Walter and a couple of representatives for 2 contractors. I've also been in a lot of meetings with Todd. We've got, he drove around the contractor, and he's estimating 10 to 15 cubic yards of debris to pick up. 1,000, thank you. So with that, he did his the estimate in your report is for the 15,000 is $633,000. And then the monitoring estimate is 60, just a shade under 67,000. So we're right about $700,000 to pick up that the city would have to front, and then money from FEMA would come in to reimburse. Hopefully, we'll get the TEMA portion too, and we'd be on the hook for 12.5%. Also, if any of these any of the people that volunteer, if that stuff is turned in to EMA, that can go towards our 12.5%. I hope to have, I've been holding off on the amended agenda to hopefully getting some of these numbers together and knock everything out at once. I would love to get that done on the March 19th or the April 2nd meeting at the latest. If the contracts are approved tonight, the contractors will begin removal the week of Monday, March 16th, and go through Wednesday, March 25th. This, I believe, will give citizens plenty of time to get things out into the right of way. An announcement will be posted on the city's website and pushed on social media tomorrow if this is approved. Bowie Nature Park remains closed due to safety issues with limbs hanging from treetops. We are getting estimates to remove these safety issues from the park as well. The park park staff has gone through and pushed debris off of the trails, but there are 200 plus trees that have hanging limbs. That is just a huge safety issue. Todd and I call those widowmakers. So we don't want anybody to get hurt from that. So they're going to be taking those out as well, and hopefully we can get that done pretty quick. I want to give you an update on the local Parks and Recreation Fund grant for Historical Village. Kimley Horn will be meeting with the Parks and Landscape Board at 7 p.m. on Monday, March 2nd, seeking their approval on the grant. It's just something that the grant asks, and it's they're just wanting their approval, and we put it on the application. Kimley Horn will be hosting a public meeting for citizens describing the grant from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at City Hall prior to the Planning Commission meeting. The application of this grant is due April 1st. I want to give fire truck update, which I haven't really brought up because I was planning on it coming in August and September and have this conversation during budgets. But we have just found out that delivery is scheduled for this May. I have been had a meeting with John Werner with Common Securities, and he will come out to present a resolution to fund this with a capital outlay note at the March 19th meeting. Fiscal year 26 budget will not be affected. We're looking at, we will advertise with local financial institutions, and I'm looking at somewhere in the $108,000 a year cost for this fire truck per year for 12 years. Welcome sign update. Old signs are down. We got on the agenda for the bid for your approval. It came in substantially under under budget. And if approved, we will issue notice to proceed. Want to give a police training facility bid update. I had to reject all bids at the first opening due to budget constraints. We have down the specs. We originally, everything was at top grade commercial specs, and we had tons of asphalt and tons of concrete that were taken out, and we're doing the specs down more to a residential grade. So we believe we've got a project that's going to come in very close to our budgeted number with those specs. All that should come to me tomorrow. They've said it would. And we're going to re-advertise bids on Monday, February 23rd. We're going to run it for 2 weeks. Bid opening will be Monday, March 9th at 2 p.m. at City Hall. Lowest responsible bidder will be identified on March 10th. And then the bid will be on the BOC agenda for the March 19th BOC meeting for approval. And that concludes my city manager report. Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
Mayor,
Commissioner Buffalini?
Mr. Doherty, do we have an update of the current construction schedule that's happening on 100? Because as of right now, there's, double up on traffic right now. They're working on, I believe, the sidewalk project up 100, and people are having a tough time picking up their kids from school. So do you have a schedule update on that?
I don't know that we've ever received a schedule for, it's a state project through TDOT, and Ethan, have you got anything on that?
The state does not have to communicate with the city. It is their asset. If anyone has a challenge that they would like to report, they can contact the TDOT Region 3 office. They have not communicated any schedule to the city. We have asked for a schedule for any form of communication. We have not received any communication from them. At this point, every day is a surprise on Highway 100, as many of you know. So for the foreseeable future, the only thing that we've ever received is that their expected finish date is by the end of July.
Mr. Doherty, do you think it would be advantageous for us, if TDOT's not responding, do you think we should reach out to one of our state representatives or state senator or someone on state level to assist us with this?
You're welcome to reach out to one of those folks. As far as what they are required to provide to the city, they are required to provide nothing to the city. It is a TDOT asset. We are blessed every day to get to utilize their asset through the middle of our town, but it is their asset and they will operate on their construction terms.
I was just asking for just an update schedule, that was all.
I will reach out to Jay Norris, the director at TDOT. He's very welcoming for me to call and get information, so I'll reach out to him and see if I can't get some information about this.
Mayor.
Vice Mayor McDonald.
Thank you. I got a handful of questions. I'm just going to jump around off this sheet, if you don't mind. And just, I'm guessing there's probably a few people at home that heard this and is just wondering what that means. Can you explain what the monitoring estimate does covers all of that? How, like, just a little bit added detail on that?
Yes, in order to get reimbursement, the debris picked up has to be monitored, and they turn that in to FEMA. So they are pretty much, they are the scorecard keeper for how much debris is picked up in the city. And they are also the state contracted, awarded the contract by the state for this service. They have, these two companies this is what they do. They do hurricanes, they do tornadoes, they do a lot of emergency work. So it ensures that we don't have any hiccups in the reimbursement. They know how to process all that paperwork and get it done without us going, what the heck did we forget? Thank you.
Is the total estimate of approximately 700,000, we'd be responsible for 12.5% of that, correct?
As of right now, we expect TEMA to kick in 12.5%. I don't know that has been finalized, but everybody anticipates that. There's also a possibility for TDOT to kick in some money on a portion of that, but as of right now, I am expecting 12.5% at this date.
So a lot of things were said there that we clearly don't have control over. Just humor me for a second. If none of that comes through, just hypothetically, none of that actually comes to, they just say, we actually are not going to do that, we're not going to offer that. Is there a chance that we would then be left to be responsible for the full $700,000?
No, sir. FEMA has already guaranteed the 75%.
Okay.
And then the 25%, which is normally, everybody I've talked to, the state's always kicked in 12.5 of the 25.
So worst case scenario, if nothing
Is
happens, 25.
25, yes.
Which would be a large amount of
Probably-
money for us to come up with.
Yeah, probably about 180,000.
Yeah. So is there any timeline that you've heard on when they expect to make that final decision?
I asked him this week, and he has not given me. He said he will give an update just as soon as he hears. I talked with Joshua Walter 3 times this week, and he said they still have not heard anything from him, but he still expects it. And the one thing is even if we go ahead and get this lined up, and I can follow up on this. We're not starting the work till March 16th, so we can. I think we can say, hey, we decided to go another direction if for some reason we want to. I guess my problem is I don't want to wait and then not be able to get it done. If it's I don't know if that.
That's fair.
If that
I
makes
think,
sense.
is there any way we could say we want this, assuming that TEMA has passed that by their start date? And if they haven't, then that start date would just be on hold until that decision came through?
I can hold on to these contracts and not turn them in until I have the answer to that question.
I guess my worry is that for whatever reason, I know you have it on good faith from these individuals that are close to the situation that's going to happen, but in the event that it didn't, it's just a sizable amount of money when we've got, fire trucks and other things to pay for. The second question I have in regards to that is, what is the full scope of work that's going to get us? Is that simply just removing things that have been pulled to the side of the road? Is Bowie involved in any of that? Is any public or
Bowie would be an additional contract.
Okay.
And we're looking at costs on that. And then and the other is debris that is in the right-of-way in the city of Fairview.
But that 700,000 will be to remove all the piles of sticks we see around the community.
Yes.
On the side of the road.
Yes.
switching gears a little bit, I'm gonna just keep bouncing down your sheet here. Regarding the fire truck, is there any, I mean, this is just for gathering information, are we 100% financing that? It's coming in a little earlier than you anticipated? Or is there a down payment? And what's that look like?
The city has had zero outflow. We ordered this fire truck almost 3 years ago. It takes that long to get one. And Chief Hughes may can speak a little bit better on it, but we are, as our apparatus, fire trucks get older, they have like a 15-year life. And then you've got a 5-year window where you can run one, but it doesn't need to be your lead vehicle. So we've got to, by federal law, we've got to keep the apparatus up to some sort of newness, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, but I was just, as far as paying for it, is that gonna, I know you had mentioned that a guy was gonna come and talk about, from Cumberland Securities, a capital outlay plan, all of that. Is there, just trying to get a little bit better understanding of what you think that's gonna look like?
Yeah, currently, that's our option.
Okay. Back to, I skipped one of my questions. Do you have any working knowledge at all of how much of that 12.5% will be able to write off with the hours that are being logged? And isn't that how it works, if I'm understanding it correctly? Do you have any idea what that's going to look like at the end of the day? Have any of those numbers come to you yet?
No, and that will all be calculated through Williamson EMA, and everything gets turned into them, and then they turn in the numbers. So it's, and we'll have a little more, and I need to find out the answer to this question, but we already turned in $41,000 worth that helped get the disaster through Governor Lee and I guess the president. And then I'm keeping all the receipts for any damage we've had, and then we can add to that. And then also anything that is covered under insurance, we can turn in the deductible, of course. And so we're just trying to keep up with anything that is. And while we're doing this, I know Todd is going to have somebody manning a bulldozer or some type of apparatus to push chips, and any overtime that we occur or extra expense that we occur that we normally wouldn't, we get to turn that in. And then with any of the volunteer work, they can turn that in as well.
Last question. This one's more of just a discussion. I guess no better time than now to ask it. Regarding the welcome signs, I had reached out to an individual in town that I know does work that we were looking to have done, and just asked if he submitted a bid. And his response was he did not, and it was basically because he doesn't have, he implied that we have some pretty stringent requirements on who can submit a bid based on how much insurance they have to carry, what kind of specific licenses they have to carry, all of that. Is that a decision that we as a city make on what we look for in those requirements, or is that state mandated? Where does that direction come from?
That, I think the situation you're talking about, I talked with Ethan on that, and there is a state mandate on the license, but you want to follow up on that, Ethan?
Yes. We dug into that request. I believe that individual contacted our office as well. There is a state requirement for what type of contractor municipalities can hire and what kind of insurance and licensing that they have to have. It's primarily based on the size of project.
I mean, don't get much smaller than what we currently
You
are
would
looking for.
think it's the financial size of the project. Most of those are based on if it's over 25,000 or under 25,000. There's a significant difference in licensing requirements, and then insurance and bonding requirements as
Right.
well.
Sounds like it is what it is. I think this is just a couple people talked about government overreach and keeping government out of things. This is a classic example of of
This is not the
government
city
speed.
of Fairview
No,
doing
this
it.
is
It's
not
the
the city of
state
Fairview
agency.
government. No, it
Yes.
is not, for the record, not us making this decision. But I mean, for what it's worth, it's creating, especially for an example just like this, you have a project that would be ideal for a smaller outfit, and smaller outfits work on smaller profit margins because they don't have as big of projects and as much work, so they're pickier in what they do. And then big outfits that are the only ones that are licensed and bonded in the manner in which the state says they need to be are so big that it's a waste of their time to do a project of the size that we're asking. So in order for them to make it worth their time, we get to pay way more tax money than we should. And it's wrong, and I understand that there's nothing we can do about it. It's sad because we have great people in this community that could knock that out very quickly and for half of the cost. And I think it's just relevant that people know that unfortunately sometimes there's nothing we can do about it.
Just to your, sorry, Commissioner, just to your point, Vice Mayor, we dug through that one pretty hard, knowing that some of those local folks that were looking to try and submit a bid on the project and make sure we went through every document that I could to make sure that we were providing the correct information. And so it is an unfortunate circumstance, but it was the correct decision at the end of the day.
Commissioner Roberts?
Thank you. Mr. Doherty, two quick questions, I think. When we were first talking about the chipper service, there was the discussion about debris that was from paid contractors couldn't be taken to the curb. But from what I understand, that has been removed. Could you just help us understand what people can take to the curb and give them a few guidelines, please?
We, in our announcement, we put out, we're going to request if you hire a contractor to clean up your property, if you can at all do it, have them remove it. Because if it's sitting there in the right of way, we're going to have to pay for it. So, you know, it's one thing to have volunteers come by and move it to the thing, but if you've gone to the expense of hiring it, you know, they need to finish their job and go and get it. Now, if it's sitting there in the right of way, it'll be picked up, but we'll be paying for it.
Right, thank you. Those are still tax dollars paying for it. Yes, thank you. And then my second question, I've been getting a lot of questions just about two things about Bowie Park. Why can't people go into it? And I think that you went into that pretty well with the dangling tree limbs. It's just not safe. The staff has been working very hard to get it cleaned up, but there's just a significant amount of damage. The second piece was people want to help. So, and I've gotten this question a lot about volunteering in Bowie. Can you just explain a little bit about that, please?
It's primarily a liability issue. People with chainsaws, it's just liability. It's just the only reason.
Thank you.
So, if people are volunteering if there's any volunteers that take limbs and everything to the curb, should the homeowner log the volunteer hours and turn it in to the city?
Not to the city, to
Or that- yeah.
Williamson County Emergency
County
Management.
Emergency Management.
Somebody needs to be in charge of, you know, how many volunteers are working, how many hours they're putting in, and they'll put a number for the hours. I mean, you don't have to decide how much they're making an hour. They have already got that number. Just the number of hours, number of employees, and that just needs to get to them. If I don't think I need to find out, or I can ask Todd Horton, but I'm thinking he said in that meeting it could come in on a spreadsheet, or, you know, I don't think it has to be an elaborate. I don't know. I haven't heard that they have an elaborate form that you have to turn in. But well, I can go back and double check and see if they've got a form for volunteers. But I would think at this late date, I would have heard about that.
May I just, so I'm organizing a volunteer cleanup on my own personal time. It's not a city-run thing, this Saturday. And so I've done a lot of work organizing this. And yes, he said to send a spreadsheet in to you, Mr. Doherty, of the volunteer hours. Yes, sir, he did. Yeah. So, but I'm trying to coordinate it using United Way, and I think that they'll go ahead and log those hours through their processes, so we don't have to. So, individuals were told to send a spreadsheet to you in that last meeting.
Well, thank you. Well, we will definitely get all that information to them, and we'll put that in the announcement when it goes out as well. And then, like I said, anyway, y'all can get that information out. That'd be helpful as well.
Anything else? Okay. Number 9, consent agenda. A, minutes from February 5th, 2026, Board of Commissioner regular meeting. And B, minutes from February 10th, 2026, work session, BOC, PC, TPUDC.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Vice Mayor McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Buffalini,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. 9A and B pass 5-0. Item number 10, old business. There is no old business tonight. Item number 11, new business. 11A, Resolution 06-26, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, authorizing the installation of stop signs and related traffic control devices at the intersection of Cleveland Lane and Horn Tavern Road. Is that you, Mr. Greer, or, okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So Commissioner Buffalini asked me to do an intersection study of Cleveland Lane and Horn Tavern Road for the installation of potential stop signs. This is a staff report. Request was made to do an analysis on the intersection of Cleveland Lane and Horn Tavern Road. We requested crash reports for the last 3 years at this intersection, and due to this request not being in the form of a specific address, a manual search was conducted. That search resulted in 1 recorded incident at this intersection and 2 other incidents within 600 feet of this intersection. We also observed that Horn Tavern Road does not contain any stop signs for the approximated distance of 3.47 miles of roadway, and the installation of this stop sign would result in 0.8 miles in the western direction and 2.67 miles in the eastern direction. We also wanted to note that there was a concern with speeding along this road, but the MUTCD states stop signs shall not be used primarily for speed control, and other forms of traffic calming devices or measures should be considered. It was noted that there was approximately 150 feet of sight distance in the eastern direction and approximately 460 feet of sight distance in the western direction. Using AASHTO intersection sight distance criteria, Case B for stop-controlled minor approaches, and MUTCD guidance, the required sight distance at 30 miles per hour is 331 feet for a left turn from the minor approach and 287 feet for a right turn crossing. Please note that these measurements are typically measured 3.5 feet off the ground and 14.5 feet from the edge of pavement. Because the right turn crossing required sight distance is not met, we recommend the following. Engineering staff recommends the board to authorize the installation of 2 stop signs, 2 painted stop bars, and 2 stop sign ahead advance warning signs at the intersection of Cleveland Lane and Horn Tavern Road, installed in conformance with MUDC guidance.
I would entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion to,
A motion to approve Resolution 0626.
Second.
discussion on this item. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Buffalini,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Mayor McDonald,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 11A passes 5-0. Item 11B, Resolution 07-26, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, accepting the bid for new monument entry signage. City Manager Tom Darty.
Thank you, Mayor, Board. We touched on this in the city manager report, but this is the only bid that came in. It was under what we have in the budget, so we can move some money around. It's Jarvis Signs, and they've got a very good reputation from what I can tell. I recommend to the board we contract them to do the work, and they're eager and they're ready. We can give them a notice to proceed tomorrow.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion on this resolution.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
Thank you. In the contract that we have here, the only thing I'm just concerned about, I mean, I'm sure you can rewrite it or something, but it doesn't state the number of signs or the scope of work that's being done. And also, does this include, or are we going to include Bowie Park signage or City Hall signage to add to that, being that the budget was significantly under what we had originally budgeted for?
No, this is just the welcome signs, the 3 signs, and then anything else will have to be brought up at a later date.
Does this come with a warranty?
I'm not sure how long the guarantee is. Did you notice anything on that, Ethan?
Mayor, while he's looking that up, if I can ask a question.
Vice Mayor McDonald?
Being what I said earlier, in that we only have one bid received, do you feel that there is any chance at a better, I mean, ideally, you'd like to see at least 2, right? Just to keep people honest. And not saying that this 162 that we have or whatever it came in at is not, but
We did receive one other bid that came in after the deadline. And I can't remember the exact amount over, but it was substantially over. You remember, Rachel?
more? Thank you.
The only reason why I'm asking about the warranty is because that could be a significant value to the city. Also, well, you can answer that question first, I guess.
I can get that information. The company that helped vet us this was Kimley Horn. There was a pretty extensive list on requirements for the contractor. Without, in fact, I may text her in a minute and maybe get you that information. But I just I feel confident they would stand by their work, but I don't know. I haven't put my eyes directly on the warranty.
Is there a time frame attached with this contract? As far as completion?
No, just as soon as possible.
Because it does have fees associated in the contract if they don't reach their deadline.
The
Impact fee.
completion date is all work shall be completed within 365 calendar days. And there are liquidated damages for if they go beyond that of $250 per day.
Right.
And they are required to submit a performance bond to the city for the work as well.
Okay. What is that, like a 2% bond?
The contractor agrees to execute a performance bond in an amount equal to 100% of the contract sum.
Okay,
It would be in the full sum.
okay. And also in that contract, does that include, because I don't see a scope of work, does that include the dismantling of the signage? Because I know our city staff did that.
It does not.
No, that was not included in there. We said we would take down the signs.
Okay. And all the current signs that we have now are located where?
They're at the out parcel currently.
Okay. Was anything salvageable signage-wise? Not just the stones, but the actual signs?
I believe so. I talked with Todd briefly on that, and he says, yeah, that some of it can be used, but it may be kind of a pain because some of the blocks are put together, they're kind of heavy. They had to use a machine to move some of it.
I'm just talking about the actual welcome sign.
I believe
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I believe they are salvageable.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anything else? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Mayor McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Buffalini,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. 11B passes 5-0. 11C, Resolution 08-26, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, adopting a new and updated Americans with Disability Act, ADA, transition plan. Mr. Greer.
In Tennessee, public entities with 50 or more employees are required by federal law to develop and maintain an ADA transition plan. This plan identifies physical barriers in city infrastructure and within public right-of-ways and buildings, and outlines the schedule for us to improve items to come into compliance with ADA standards. The threshold, again, is it applies to cities of 50 or more employees. The plan must include a list of physical barriers, methods for removing them, and a schedule for compliance. Those are all within this transition plan. It is part of the Tennessee Department of Transportation, is where this is housed under the state government for who we will be submitting this document to. There was one that was submitted back in 2020 that TDOT believed to be insufficient in what they were looking for. And so once we hired our codes enforcement inspector, we tasked them with going around the community and completing this plan. And before you tonight, you have the 31-page ADA transition plan that's laid out in the format that the state has requested of the city. And it lists throughout there the legislative mandate along with each building and the deficiencies that exist within each facility that the state has, or that the city has, and an intended time frame on repairing or updating those items to come into compliance with the ADA Act. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions from the board?
Is there, sorry.
Vice Mayor McDonald?
Thank you, Mayor. Apologies if I missed this. Is there a time limit on when we would have to complete what's lacking?
There is no time limit. We have allocated funds for the last few years to complete ADA projects throughout the city, and we have done a few of those, such as adding the push buttons for the front door of City Hall. The intent behind the federal law is that we are working towards everything being there, and this is a piece of showing our intent that we are working towards coming into compliance, and that is the intent behind it. Obviously, ultimately, we'll be in compliance, but the intent is to show that we are working towards becoming in compliance.
Thank you.
I need to entertain a motion for 11C Resolution 08-26.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion on this item? Ms. Jones?
Vice Mayor McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Buffalini,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 11C passes 5-0. Item 11D, ordinance 2026-02, zoning ordinance. I will now open the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name, address, and if you're in the city or county. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Item D, ordinance 2026-02, an ordinance of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, repealing the current adopted Fairview zoning ordinance and zoning map and adopting a new development code entitled the Fairview, Tennessee Development Code, and a new zoning map. Mr. Greer.
Tonight, we have the opportunity to have TPUDC, our consultant on this development code, also known as Town Planning and Urban Design Collaborative, Mr. Bill Wright and Ms. Anna Blevins, who have been our project leads on this project. As you all know, we've had a few work sessions on this, and this has been a long time coming to the Board of Commissioners. We started this project back about 20 months ago. It has been a long process for our staff and for TPUDC. We've had several public engagement opportunities where we had their staff work right out of City Hall for a week here, and had several opportunities for the community to provide input, which many members did, about utilities and infrastructure and character and what Fairview means to them as a small town and how we preserve our rural character of our town. We've also had our public draft. There was a presentation back in August of 2025 where TPUDC came and presented the public draft. We then had a 30-day citizens comments period where citizens were able to submit comments, come in and meet with us in our office through online sources or in person. And we received several comments. All of those have been distributed to the Planning Commission and to the Board of Commissioners. Once we went through that process, then we had opportunities where our staff worked through the citizens' comments, worked through items that we felt needed to be altered between the public draft and getting it finalized for a final draft. We've worked through that process. Our final draft came out right at the new year of 2026. We have taken it to the Planning Commission. We've had a work session with the Planning Commission, and then last week we had a joint work session, or 2 weeks, was it last week? Last week, we had a joint work session with the Board of Commissioners, Planning Commission, and TPUDC to hope work through some of the pinch points that the Planning Commission had evaluated. Tonight, we have the opportunity to discuss it and make changes if you so see fit. We will go through the Planning Commission recommendations. We have drafted some language to accommodate those recommendations if you would like to amend the resolution to add those pieces in, or amend the ordinance to add those pieces in. And then TPUDC is also here to answer any questions that you may have to help clarify any questions or comments that you would like to make, and then we'll keep going. Just a reminder for everyone that is at home and here tonight, tonight is our first reading of this document. There was just a public hearing that occurred, but there will be another public hearing at the March 5th Board of Commissioners meeting at 7 PM at City Hall, 7100 City Center Way. There will be a public hearing at that. After that public hearing, there will either be some form of vote, potentially on the second reading of this document. If it is passed at the second reading, then this document will go into effect after that point. But tonight is a first reading only. A yes vote tonight does not make this document a live document, does not make it a regulatory document. It moves it to the next meeting where the final vote could be had.
Before we begin discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Discussion from commissioners and vice mayor.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
Just to clarify, the changes that were, this is going to be first vote, basically, of another option. If we vote on this, we can still amend what happened with Planning Commission, is that correct?
The Planning Commission has only provided you recommendations.
Right.
They have not made any changes to this document as it currently sits. The final draft that you have, hopefully you brought it all with you tonight, the final draft that is publicly listed as the final draft has had no changes until the five of you make any changes to it.
Okay.
I think I understand the question. I'm not saying that Ethan didn't, but you can amend it tonight with what the Planning Commission suggested, or you could pass it tonight and then amend it at the second reading. It doesn't matter when you amend it.
Thank you.
Or if you make amendments tonight, you can also make amendments at the second reading as well. You can, if you see something that pops out between now and a few weeks from now, you can always make changes.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
Have currently the suggestions from planning?
I do. I'm happy to go through those if you'd like.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Their first recommendation was to create a meeting schedule that separates the first reading, the public hearing, and the second reading as 3 separate Board of Commissioners meetings. And I have some language if you would like to amend that. I preemptively wrote amendments to assist in this process. And then their second recommendation was to add a section for public participation, including developer-led meetings. Their third was to add a limited use standard for automotive uses for 2 gas stations, so that 2 gas stations cannot be within 3,000 lineal feet of roadway. There was a piece to add language to the definition of hilltop and ridgetop, to express that the city engineer or planning commission may assign a hilltop or ridgetop regulations as applicable. There was a recommendation to add a limited use standard for decentralized wastewater, that it must be furthest possible location from the public right-of-way and adjacent property lines, and to remove the limited use within Character District 4C, light industrial, heavy industrial, and civic. There's a recommendation to add a buffer requirement to Bowie Nature Park of a 50-foot buffer, with the 25-foot adjacent to property line shall remain undisturbed. Another recommendation was to change traffic study requirements to require a traffic study if it is a major subdivision of 30 homes, or with a staff recommendation, or if the development is part of a common plan of development. The next recommendation is to increase the lot building site width for Character District 4C for large-scale commercial building types to 400-foot maximum. And the last recommendation was for Table 6.9.1.A.1 for steep slopes to change the percentage of disturbed or undisturbed area from 90% to 80%. And those were the recommendations that were sent by the Planning Commission. I guess we can start there.
I have one quick question. The Bowie buffer, can we make that for any city park, not just Bowie? Is that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
You can word it however you would like. Let's start there. That'd be the easiest one to, I feel like that's probably a pretty good topic that most of you we can probably all agree on. The amendment would be to amend table 5.8.8 to add a new section that states all development districts adjacent to city parks. And then that table has 3 sections to it. And then the next section would be the buffer depth of 50 foot with the first 25 foot adjacent to the property line to remain undisturbed.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
Mr. Greer, thank you very much for being proactive with that. I think the entire board, I can't speak for them, but I think we're all appreciative of the efforts that you guys have been through for this. So thank you very much on that.
Mayor, if I may.
Vice Mayor McDonald?
Is there any way to get the map on the screen? There is a first property I'll bring up. There's one on Horn Tavern that was in front of the Planning Commission recently, and they deferred the item. It was a rezoning request, and I believe the way we have it currently coded, it would grant that rezoning, basically.
Correct. We did allow for property owners to come in and request during this process. The property owner did request CD3 as their character district, which in the matrix that we put out, CD3 is translated from RS15, which was the request of that property owner.
But the request wasn't granted.
The request was not granted, it was deferred. The conversation that occurred that night was, we have a final draft in our hands. We should,
Then consider it.
let's consider the final draft before we consider rezonings.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. So I think, ultimately it's this board's decision, but that's kind of taken the Planning Commission's approval of that property out of their hands.
The Planning Commission did send it to the board with a positive recommendation for approval.
Correct, it was the BOC that turned it
The
down.
BOC that deferred that item.
My apologies. Again, I don't know, I guess it's ultimately for us to determine. It just seems like, I don't know, potentially problematic. The other, I know the concerns that were on that property, I know the new code will address it, right? We've got stricter guidelines in there, and they'll have to do more studies and things like that, which is a positive. And that's fine. Ultimately, it's this board's decision, so. The other property, that I wanted to address is the one in, more towards the center of town, the Sullivan property that was discussed by a citizen today. We have TPUDC here. I'd like to make your guys' trip worthwhile. If you could kind of just give us some insight into how you recommended the zoning when going through that map in the beginning, and what your thoughts are on the suggested change of that particular parcel. If you have insight into that, I'd love to hear it.
Anna Blevins. I do remember we went through a couple of rounds of map edits with staff, and I believe this was, as somebody mentioned earlier, CD4 originally. That's what I personally would recommend, just because it's along the highway and everything else around it is CD4. But I would probably defer to Ethan. I think ultimately we changed it to 4C, but I don't think I know what the reason was for that.
I can give you some background on this. So within our matrix, we had commercial general listed within the matrix, transitioning to some of commercial general, transitioning to CD4C. The property owner brought it to light that we had listed that within our matrix and felt that we might have made an error. And so we corrected that with changing it to
Can you
CD.
elaborate on the error you may have made?
We allowed for property owners to bring anything to light, any citizens to bring anything to light within our public comment period. And so the commercial general piece going to CD4C was what was shown. This was a public matrix that was put out with a public draft back in August. It was publicly available on the city website and in our office.
My question would be then, why isn't all CG property rezoned to CD4C?
Correct. So there are some properties along that inherently could not meet the requirements that CD4C has. This property I know has been discussed many of times before this board, before the Planning Commission. I know TPUDC originally had it as CD4 within alignment along the corridor there. But from our staff perspective, this property lays out a great opportunity for a node of development that is located slightly outside of the city center, especially with the development of a red light at Cumberland and the red light at Walmart. This is a great opportunity for a node of development. The proximity to the schools, with walkability, with the sidewalk project coming in along Highway 100, it laid out a fairly decent opportunity. And so evaluating it as staff with the knowledge that the property owner brought to our attention, we felt that CD4C was appropriate in this area.
You had mentioned earlier that you, in your professional opinion, originally thought that CD4 was the appropriate zoning. Can you explain why you felt that way?
I think just looking at the context of what we decided around there, and also just, we're gonna recommend more walkable, less auto-oriented districts anytime that we can. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, my preference would be 4. But I think even so, 4C is gonna probably get you better looking development than what I assume would be there right now, so.
And then it's just raw land at the moment.
Okay.
The other question, and last question I have for you, I'll let you sit back down, is why was CD4C only, when you applied CD4C, in your opinion, there's a trend that that's next to 840 and 40. Is there a justification for that?
I think a big part of it was the future land use map and the comprehensive plan. I can't remember is it commercial interchange, regional, I can't remember exactly what.
Business interchange
Thank you.
district, yes.
Yeah, so that is, more auto-oriented. You tend to see bigger boxes located towards the interstate. So, yeah, I think Ethan and I both agreed 4C made the most sense there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about this. I expressed this originally when this came up. Property is currently zoned commercial. CD4 allows for commercial. So we're not downgrading the property value by doing CD4 versus CD4C. The property currently doesn't have any residential zoning on it whatsoever. So allowing 6 units per acre is allowing it to do more than it's already currently allowed to do. So I don't think that there's a legal argument that we are somehow removing value from this property by coding it CD4. I've had conversations with multiple people in regards to this. I think the product that is trying to be put on it is a need that Fairview has. I just think that this location is an extremely problematic one for the traffic volume that would create. And I think there's a reason the professionals decided not to put it in the middle of the city.
Let me shed a little light on this property. First of all, it's been, a third of it's been sold to Williamson County for an elementary school. The proposed elementary school will be on the front third of this property, and in aligning with the matrix with CD4C, it will allow for, I love the word that when I was in the Day on the Hill on Tuesday, they came up with a new word, which I think is a good one to use moving forward with me, and that is income-aligned development. You're not talking about like a Section 8 product or something like that. It's more of a product where teachers, fire, police can have more of an, affordability to be able to live, and not these bigger lots, bigger houses where, it's just hard to afford that. So on this property, allowing the CD4C is, in my opinion, in alignment with walkability, community, where the school is going to be, having the homes, townhomes, whatever it may be, around the school is going to make it an area where people can gather, walk, their children walk to school. So that's why, in my opinion, the CD4C works better than CD4.
Well, that raises an interesting question. Thanks for sharing that information about the elementary school. And you said the property's already been sold.
Already been sold.
So that would make these 2 parcels now then, wouldn't it?
Correct. If it has been subdivided off and sold, then yes, it would be 2 parcels.
Yes, so then we're really talking about 2 separate parcels, and one would be zoned appropriately for the school, and the other one would be whatever we were zoning for whatever future development would be approved. Am I understanding that right?
Can you rephrase that?
Sure.
Sorry.
If what we're talking about is that purple property in the middle of the screen, part of it's already been sold for the school, so that would have one zoning for the school. And then what is remaining and doesn't belong to the school for property is what we're really talking about here. That would be for future development.
Correct.
Okay. And also CD4 is still what we would call mixed use, right? It's neighborhood, it's got some retail, it's got some restaurants, and I'm seeing TPUDC nodding yes. And so we'd still have the opportunity for some walkability and some retail, but it wouldn't be the high density that we would see with a CD4C, is that right? And it wouldn't have the opportunity for a big box store. And a big box store right next to an elementary school I don't know. And this is where I would ask one of our TPDC reps to maybe come back up and tell us this is what y'all do. Like, have you seen that? Is that something that you would recommend? Would it even go? If this is parceled off, would there even be room for something like that here? Or would it make more sense to go to a CD4?
I'm Bill Wright. I was wondering this, exactly the same thing you just now asked, depending on kind of how much property that ends up being depth-wise from the road, it may not allow even for a big box.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, so a nice matching of the surrounding property and then a transition into the CD3 out, which is the neighborhood large lot, would make sense with what we're seeing. And I had one more question when we were talking about this. Mr. Greer, where is Walmart on this map? What's that zoning?
That is CD4.
Well, then wouldn't it make sense to keep it CD4 if we're going to make it all align and we're thinking about large retail? Yeah?
I think the piece that Vice Mayor McDonald spoke on was the density of the residential characteristics of this property. CD4C permits a density of 16 units per acre, gross acreage. CD4 permits 6 units per acre within this property. So commercial is kind of neither here nor there. You're allowed to do commercial in both districts. You're allowed to do residential in both districts. The big defining difference is the density.
Yeah, and so while we're thinking about building what we're building and what makes sense and maybe just keeping that where there is some nice walkable retail, but it's still the same level of density transitioning out to a lower density properties behind it. And with the school there, that might be a consideration as well, especially with an elementary school. If we're thinking density of traffic and we're thinking about the nature of what might be built in such close proximity to elementary school kids. Just that we don't want to have too much around a school, right? Like we want it to feel like the rest of our schools with some green space around it. And that just seems like a CD4 would probably align more with the way our other schools are also positioned.
There.
Commissioner Buffalini?
Thank you. I don't want to get into the woods with this specific parcel, but so I brought up that the school was looking at purchasing this property. The mayor said this property was already purchased. When was it divided? And if it was divided, what was it zoned for currently?
Currently zoned commercial general. You can build a school within any district. You could build a school in CD4C, you could build a school in CD4, you could build a school in any district. It's currently commercial general. You can build a school in commercial general within our regulations today. Schools and governmental facilities have a lot more leeway than other types of buildings. I am not aware of the property being divided, but that does not mean that it has not been divided. They only have to go through the city to subdivide a property if it's less than 5 acres. If it's greater than 5 acres, it can be subdivided by deed. That's handled by Williamson County. That does not have to come through us. So I'm not aware that it has been, but does not mean that it has not been.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you very much.
Mayor,
Commissioner Hall?
If the school has already bought some property of that parcel there, what part of the parcel did they buy? The back, the front, side, or what? You have any idea where it was bought? Or
I'm not going to speak to it. I've just told you that Williamson County has purchased part of the property for an elementary school, so I'm just gonna keep it at that.
Does the school have any relevant piece to this conversation?
What I brought up is that now that we know the school is going there, I feel like the CD4C better fits because of the aligned economic mention that I made of affordability for teachers, young families. The larger the lot, the larger the house you get, then, that, we've got that problem right now. We talk about it,
6 units per acre isn't exactly a mansion. Just saying.
my children are of the age to want to buy their first home, and they can't. They can't live in their own community. So this is a major problem. Every time I meet with legislators, we're always talking about how we can work with developers, and the owner of this property is willing to do exactly what we've tried to discuss and put starter homes and homes that would be more affordable for our community and our young families. I don't see why that's a negative topic. I think that's something that we should look for is, different developments where an owner or developer is willing to do that type of product so that we can keep our children and our young families and our teachers and our firemen and our policemen here in our community. Right now, we're pricing them out. And I know that for a fact because my kids are having to move out of Fairview, and that's just not fair. If we can bring in a more economic aligned product to be able to diversify what we're offering, then we can keep our young people and teachers and different, people here that are having to move out of town. So this just seemed to be a great opportunity with the school being there where we could bring houses, just like, if you think about it, just like a West Haven. West Haven, the school came and they built around it, and their density is higher, but it's just such a wonderful sense of community there. And nobody complains about 16 houses per acre. They love that. They love the community feel. So that's what I'm talking about.
If I may. I think you're hard pressed to find a property in West Haven that's less than $1 million, but if that's affordable, then that's affordable. We have a long list of townhomes that are built, to be built, yet to be built, all the above. Those are the most affordable you can possibly get in the market that we currently find ourselves in. The most pressing thing to this, I agree. I'm not going to argue whether the need for this product is here. I agree with you. It is. Not going to argue that. Location is everything, and this is what I told the property owner of this when I met them. I don't hate the product. I don't hate the vision. I don't like the location. And I do my best to be as transparent as I absolutely can with the citizens of this community. And I try to do everything that I can possibly control to make it look like I am not involved in something weird. And I can tell you this, that every single time this property has been on an agenda, whether it's a planning commission or this panel, this room is standing room only. And there's a reason that there's no one in here right now, because no one is aware that this property is about to be rezoned to the nightmare that they wanted to avoid for many years. I think it is in everybody's political interest to be transparent with this, and if we are going to have a conversation about this property and put it to the CD4C, we need to make sure that everyone in that area is aware so we can look them all in the eye and tell them exactly what we're going to do to their neck of the woods. That's the last thing I want to say about this property on my part.
So the matrix right now shows that it is to go to CD4C, correct? So we would be going against the matrix that was developed by TPUDC, developed by everyone who has been working on this for 2 years.
Matrix does have some properties that transition to CD4C. It has some properties that transition to CD4. We looked at overall from our 2040 Fairview Forward comprehensive plan. What a alliteration nightmare. We looked at the comprehensive plan and the future land use and what was derived out of that, plus our knowledge base of working and living in the city and looking through those things. We moved properties from commercial general to CD4, moved them from commercial general to CD4C. Some properties went from RM20 down to CD4. There are a lot of different transitions that did occur. The matrix does seem to demonstrate that commercial general would generally translate to CD4C. That is not the case in every scenario, but that
in
is
this
what the
in this
matrix
scenario,
was stated. Yes.
in this scenario, the original matrix said that it would be CD4C. So this has not been asked for by the owner developer. This was the original, the way it was.
This matrix was put out with the public draft. Yes.
Okay, and whatever the board wants to do is fine. I just want to point out that this is what, the developer owner did not decide this. This is what was decided by the original matrix that went along with this map.
I can ask a question regarding that. Mr. Greer, were you or were you not visited by the property owner of this property and asked to change it to CD4C?
I was visited by the property owner of this property, and he brought up that the matrix had commercial general going to CD4C and stated that his property was not CD4C and that was an inconsistency with the matrix in the map.
Without that conversation, would you have set that to CD4C?
I would not have made note of that change.
No further questions.
Okay, let me point out that it was only a color change that was incorrect on the map that was pointed out. Is that not correct?
The property owner believed that his property was CD4C, that the color was incorrect, yes.
Because of the matrix, the color change had to be made because it was incorrect on the map per the matrix. Is that not correct?
The color represented CD4, and the property owner believed that his property was transitioning to CD4C, yes.
Because the matrix says that CD transitioned to CD4C.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
I would like to make a motion to amend the zoning map to remove CD4C zoning on that particular property that's being discussed and change it to CD4.
Second.
Just as a clarifying comment, I would like to address that the property being discussed is tax map 46, parcel 08700.
Mr. Carter, would I be correct to say that the motion dies for lack of a second? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
And I'm just confused procedurally. Are we voting on each of these separately?
I think we need to, because, I mean, I don't think you can realistically do it like in some omnibus motion unless you all agree, and I don't sense that's probably realistic, so.
Thank you. Okay.
As painful as it might be, I think that's how we need to do it.
Okay.
I'd like to ask a question of the board before we vote on anything. Are we comfortable as a board that this zoning ordinance is ready to move forward? Are all of your questions answered?
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
before we answer that question? Ethan, the amendments that, each of the items, I think this started with Commissioner Buffalini asked a question. You said, yes, I went ahead and noted these, and I'll run through them, and you pull out a sheet of paper and read through them or summarized them. Was that transmitted, is that part of the packet, and was that transmitted to the BOC?
Rachel, was that included in the packet?
So
No, it
I'm
was
a little
from
bit
the-
uncomfortable amending it tonight until each of you have reviewed that piece of paper has been transmitted to you and then made part of the public record if we're going to refer to it and discuss it.
They were here for the joint work session where that was created.
I know, but I mean,
I'm
I don't
happy
even
to
know
do
what I
that.
had for lunch yesterday. So, I mean, as complex as this material is, and if we're going to discuss it, then I think the citizens ought to see it. If it was created at a public meeting, and probably you need to refer to it and then decide how you feel. I mean, we can discuss it tonight, but it may be premature to amend it if that hasn't been.
Well, my question is, would an amendment tonight on just the first reading be a final amendment since we're not passing it? Or would it just be something we could log as the votes and then decide at the next meeting if we wanted to go back and revisit any? How does that work? Or is it just cleaner not to vote tonight?
I mean, you could
because-
amend it tonight, or you could amend it at the second reading. I mean, doesn't matter. I mean, you could, I think Commissioner Buffalini had asked that question before. You could amend it tonight, not amend it tonight. You could discuss it tonight, not amendment. You can make all the amendments at the second. It doesn't matter.
No.
I have a clarification question for Mr. Carter. The two documents were sent to us in our packet. We had the zoning regs, then as the whole thing, and then we had the map. And we were
I'm just talking about.
Yeah.
that.
But my motion was to amend the map, which we have all had a copy of. I'm not adopting or amending any of the lists that we have from PC, so I'm wondering, is that acceptable to make the change to that map? So going into the final reading, the map reflects that change.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be fine if the rest of the board wants to do that tonight. I'm not really speaking as much about that. I'm talking more about the paper that was pulled out and being read off of. So, because I presume that by doing that, Ethan was trying to make it easier for you so you could just read the motion and someone would second it and we could have a discussion and then yay or nay. And if you all don't have it in that form, even though you've discussed it before, I don't know, that might be just an awfully painful exercise to do tonight, and it might go a lot easier if you all have it in front of you. Just my thoughts, for whatever it's worth.
I think for some of these, it's helpful to have that conversation. So we're either having it tonight or we're having it at the next reading. To the point that Vice Mayor McDonald made, we have had an opportunity. I think that there might be some that I'll say I would rather go to the second meeting before. So if somebody puts up a motion, I'll say I don't feel like I'm ready to vote on it. But I don't know if we wanted to do this to kind of make the next meeting a little bit more efficient too. If we can do that point by point, then some things we might vote tonight and some things we might not be prepared
That's
to vote tonight.
perfectly acceptable, and so I mean, like I said, sometimes when I speak, it's not worth much at all, and probably most of the time it's not, but it's just for you all to consider. You all are the ones that need to decide and vote on it, so.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
Just to reiterate that, what was discussed on the board already, that was my anticipation of asking Mr. Greer to break it down for us so that we can address things right now and move forward, because we're going to be discussing things at the next couple of meetings in lieu of all of the changes that are going to happen over the course of the next probably 2 months before this is formally adopted. So that's why I had asked that question, and I support Vice Mayor's ideas to address this right now, and it is something that we've all had in front of us for quite some time. So you have my full support.
We're going to have this ordinance for a long time. This is very serious, and I think we need to get it right and not rush it through. We need to make sure that we understand everything that we're reading in this book before we finalize it for our community.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
We have had this book for quite some time now. I'm going to say close to, 4 months, if not longer. I think we've all beaten this book down pretty well. I'm comfortable moving forward with this item.
Listen, you all may have different levels of comfort, but if someone makes a motion and it gets seconded, then we need to vote on it.
Which
And
we
if-
have,
If
right.
someone wants to make a motion to defer and it gets a motion and a second, then you can vote on that. And then, we can pretty much, we don't have to discuss everything ad nauseum. We just need to move into, like, someone makes a motion and it either wins the day or not, and then we move on to the next motion. And I don't mean any disrespect, Commissioner Buffalini or anyone else. We could talk about all night about whether we're comfortable or not, but, we'll know real quick the comfort level if we start voting, so.
Point of order, there is a motion and a second on the table.
Ms. Jones?
Vice Mayor McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Buffalini,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts.
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
No. Item passes 4-1.
Mayor?
Commissioner Roberts?
Thank you. For the sake of cleanliness, Commissioner Buffalini brought up the buffer earlier, and we never really finalized that. And I had questions about it, but we kind of scooted forward on something. So if I could, please, to pull us back to that. Mr. Greer, you cited a table about the buffer, and I feel like maybe I didn't write down the right number. I put 5.8.8. Is that the correct number?
That's correct.
Okay. And
That's correct.
so I just want to make sure what is the recommendation from the Planning Commission on the buffer for Bowie Park that Commissioner Buffalini was thinking we could move to all parks? What's the actual recommendation, please?
The recommendation from them was to add a buffer requirement to all of Bowie Nature Park of 50-foot buffer with the 25-foot adjacent to the property line shall remain undisturbed.
Okay, so that would be adding it to this table because it's not currently on the table, right?
Correct.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
Mr. Carter, do we vote on each individual item that Mr. Greer is reading on, or do we just collectively, how does this work exactly?
I think it needs to be each individual proposed amendment, or if none of, if no one's interested in the amendment, then a motion doesn't get made, then we just won't vote on that one and the change won't be made. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, absolutely. So, Mr. Greer, you had already written a resolution to amend for this motion, to amend this part?
Some terms that we felt were applicable to that item would be to amend Table 5.8.8 to add a new section that states all development districts adjacent to Bowie Nature Park have a buffer depth of 50 foot with the first 25 foot adjacent to the property line to remain undisturbed, and then include the same design plants that are listed on that buffer for the table 5.8.8.
But it doesn't specify all parks necessarily.
The Planning Commission seemed to particularly focus on Bowie Nature Park, as that was of concern. But if you would like for the motion to say all parks, please make the motion that says all parks.
I would like to make the motion to amend that motion to include the word all parks. All city
No, you don't
parks.
need to make a motion. He can't make a motion because he doesn't vote.
Right.
But what you could do is you can make the motion and revise it when you say it to what Ethan was suggesting that the motion be. Does that make sense?
It does. I just don't have it in front of me. So
Yeah,
I
well, that was the reason why I made the prior comment about getting that to you all, but anyway.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Vice Mayor McDonald?
Thank you. When we say all parks, so is that what he just brought up?
Mr.
So
Wright
I'm
just brought
I'm
up it
thinking
should
if
be
we've
all
got,
city.
well, even all city parks, if we get into the habit of doing a pocket park, for instance, that we have ownership of, that might be 75 feet wide and 100 feet deep, and it's going to have 50 foot of buffer around the entire edge of that property, that seems problematic.
Then there's no park.
So we
It's
just,
all buffer.
so we don't want to do pocket parks anywhere? Like, forget playgrounds? Am I understanding that correctly? So we can remove pocket parks from the verbiage of the zoning ordinances?
Do we want to just name specific parks that we have right now?
Or we could say parks of a certain size,
Yeah,
then that would cover our, main.
TPUDC, I'm looking at you. What would you recommend the language would be for something like this?
What I said to Ethan a second ago is we need to say city parks because we know what those city parks are now. If the city's going to be getting in the business of having other parks that are city-owned, then it just brings up another question. Most cities these days aren't developing city parks. They're requiring private developers to include them in developments, and this code requires that. It requires an array of things, an array of things, all the way from pocket park to a playground to a huge park, and park generically. So we can't, unless you're trying to make that applicable to every single park in the future, we need a way to limit that which parks that applies to. Because just like Mr. McDonald said, we literally, if you said all parks, you could be talking about a 50 by 50 pocket park, and you'd have it all buffer. It would all be buffer. So, which wouldn't make any sense. You'd be buffering you would be buffering the park from the very people who are trying to use the park. That would be the residents around it, so.
But even if you made it all city parks, I mean, like, for example, the city of Columbia has the Polk Park, which is like a tiny little park with 2 statues in it, and you would not want that to apply there. As far as private developers building parks, I think he's speaking, you can tell me if I'm wrong, he's talking about either HOA-run parks, HOA space in a subdivision, or part of a commercial development where you're going to have green space. Those are, and they may or may not be dedicated and become part of the city at some point. So, I mean, Commissioner Buffalini, I think we might be getting into some, I think even if you say all city parks, I foresee issues with that perhaps, because a park, when we just think about a park, we're thinking of a big green space, but I mean, they come in all different shapes, sizes, and varieties. So just a rule that says this much buffer around every park, I think is maybe creating problems that aren't foreseeable.
I understand. Can we specify parks, though, then? With naming them?
I mean, I think the way the motion's written, it only applies to Bowie Park, but,
Well, in an amended,
well, I just don't know how you would amend it, because even if you amend it to the city parks, I foresee problems, or city-owned parks, I foresee problems.
I understand. My only concern is that I know Bowie is a gem here, but we also have Veterans Park. We have other parks.
Oh, I see what you mean. So put specific names of parks. You could do that, and that might be a worthwhile exercise.
Right.
Yeah, I misunderstood your
Right.
question.
Right. Thank you.
Mayor?
Commissioner Roberts?
I don't know if anybody is making a motion on this, or if this is something that we're planning to just consider and take to our next conversation, but I think before we do any more of this, just reading through their first recommendation, I want to make clear that I understand that their recommendation to create a meeting schedule that separates the first reading, public hearing, and second reading, that's intended for future decisions. That's not intended for this, right? That the Planning Commission wasn't intending it for what we're doing now. It was for the code for future votes. I just wanted to
Correct.
make clear on that. Okay, great. Thank you. And that would be for the second recommendation also about public participation, including developer-led meetings.
Correct.
Great. Thank you.
I just wanted to put it out there that the Historic Village is a park, and a buffer on certain sides of that would interfere with parking, detention pond. We've
Mayor-
got to be very careful.
Mayor, I'd like to just preempt, I think, what you're about to say. The buffer would be if anyone developed adjacent to these.
Okay, I
parks.
think that needs to be,
So it'd be the,
Pointed
that's where
out.
the table 5.8.8 is when a development requires a buffer. The perfect example is Bowie Meadows next door to Bowie Nature Park. They have a 50-foot buffer, and that was the derivative of having a 50-foot buffer. The intent behind what the Planning Commission was trying to communicate was any development that comes in that abuts a current park setting, let's protect our parks and require that development to have a buffer zone. And so that table 5.8.8 is in reference to when a development abuts the district or the particular item.
So can I ask a question about that? With this table, then, would we see the same kind of disturbance right up to the park's property line that we're seeing
So
now?
that was the piece that was asked of the Planning Commission, which was the 25-foot adjacent to the property line shall remain undisturbed. Today, Bowie Meadows, although they have a 50-foot buffer, it is a ultimate landscape buffer that has been as much as possible left undisturbed. But we all know that things happen in construction and things get disturbed, and there's areas of that were disturbed up to the property line. And so having that 25-foot area of undisturbed area would prevent a developer from disturbing it up to the property line.
And this might sound nitpicky, but this actually, I mean, it's an important thing. Define disturbed and undisturbed.
disturbed is any construction activity taking place in that area.
Does it include cutting down trees
It does include cutting down trees.
and scraping to remove all vegetation off the ground?
Correct.
Okay, I want to make clear that these words matter.
Any land disturbance.
Any land disturbance. Great.
It would essentially be a 25-foot strip around their boundary line with a park that they
Yeah.
would not be able to touch.
And just last question about that. How did we get to 25 feet? Why not 20? Why not 30? Why not? I mean, what's the magic of 25?
The piece of that was looking at about 50%. So to make most sites work, you have lots that will back up to this buffer zone, or you have a road in the case of Bowie Meadows that come down through there. To make grading for those lots and roads work, you are going to need some area to be able to adjust the grade and disturb the land. And so this was a 50% remains undisturbed, which there are several areas throughout this document where there are items of buffering or scenic routes or different places where you're allowed to disturb a certain percentage of the buffer, but not the full amount of the buffer.
Okay, well, we haven't had much opportunity to ask these questions. So if nobody else has questions, I'll keep going. Is that okay? Okay, because I'd kind of like to move through these. I want to ask them at some point. I noticed that so I'm moving away from the Planning Commission recommendations for just a moment. I noticed that there are pocket parks in CD2 and CD2W, and that's a little confusing to me because those are rural, which is kind of like our agricultural or woodlot. And so I'm concerned a little bit about overregulation. I didn't understand why we would have something that's regulating something like a pocket park in a place that's a woodlot. You don't really have a neighborhood setting. Is that necessary?
You're right, that pocket parks it's a small thing, and those are rural contexts. We try to make, on the rural end, we try to give opportunities for whatever size, open space that you might want to use. And, there may be a place not just on a lot, but, its own, there may be a number of lots that are developed. And depending on the size of the whole parcel, of all the parcels, you may want to have the ability to use a pocket park in a certain place and then get some more of that, more open space in another type of park. I say in park because y'all have got me saying park, another type of civic space, which is what it's called in the code.
Well, and I think that's an important thing for people to know when they're listening to this, though, is that that's an allowance. If it's not in here, then it's not going to be allowed. So
Correct.
putting it in here isn't regulating it, it's making it permissible, which is, I think, a different way than we've been engaging with our property for a very long time. That this is more of making it allowed. So it's in here even though it doesn't maybe not be applicable really to this space. But I think that's really important when we're thinking about how we're framing this. I'll keep going. I don't see any mention of something like golf carts, and I imagine as we're talking about more walkable, and we know we keep referring to West Haven. So what's the vision for something like golf carts being driven around Fairview and in these areas? Is there any kind of special parking or roads or anything? I mean, I know some of that's probably regulated by TDOT and other regulations, but just we've got the types of bushes that people can plant. So I'm also wondering, is there something that we should know about golf carts? Because if it's not in here, then is it allowed?
So golf carts from a city standpoint, I don't believe would be within a zoning ordinance. They are allowed per state law as a low-speed vehicle or medium-speed vehicle.
Well, they have to have certain safety equipment, and they're regulated by state law. In order to have just plain old regular golf carts, you would have to have a gated community that, with non-city streets, and so I don't think that's part of what we're, I think Ethan's correct, it's not properly in the zoning code.
It's not necessarily dealing with the land and the land use and the character. Now, if someone were to, I've lived in communities where Publix has golf cart parking, and there are golf cart trails throughout the entire town. Those do exist, but that is not something that I feel that we should be pushing or regulating at this point. If the developer would like to put in golf cart parking and have a particular spot for that, they're more than welcome to.
Okay. And thank you for saying it that way, because back to the point I made earlier about the pocket parks, if it's not in here, then it's not allowed. And so with something like that, if it's not in here, if somebody wanted to do that, would it be allowed? That's just, I mean, I understand.
It wouldn't count towards their parking requirement of this code, because this is for cars, trucks, regular vehicles. But if Publix wanted to add 10 spots, then they still met the parking requirement and called them golf cart spots.
There'd just be nothing that would stop
That'd be
that.
fine for them.
Okay, thanks. Can we talk about HOAs
Yes.
and the requirement for developments to all be HOAs?
Okay. We currently have this requirement within our regulations for all developments to be HOAs. The biggest piece on this falls, one, it takes the liability of stormwater ponds and stormwater pond maintenance away from the city, takes the costs of stormwater ponds and stormwater pond maintenance away from the city, and directly puts it on the liability of the homeowners association and the group that lives there to maintain their stormwater pond within that. That's the primary reason for having HOAs from our perspective. There are plenty of people in the community that have, some have positive recommendations for why HOAs exist and some have negatives, but from our perspective, it's primarily a liability and cost standpoint of managing stormwater. Hit on it too, Bill.
There is a provision in the code that says that civic space in a private development has got to be either owned by the HOA, and it's for maintenance purposes, or it's got to be owned by like a land trust if it's like a big park or whatever. And so there are a couple of other little small things that are, you want to have the civic space where it's permanently protected, even if it's not the city permanently protecting it, so.
Thank you. And is there a size requirement for the development to have an HOA? Like a certain number of units, so it's any size? Okay.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
Mr. Greer, on number 7, you have changed traffic study requirements to 30 homes. What is it currently?
Currently, it is any major subdivision, so any development, pull that particular article, but any development would require, that's putting in a road or new infrastructure would require a traffic study. And the recommendation that staff made was to add a major subdivision with 30 lots. The staff recommendation, or if a site development plan is part of a common plan of development.
So it has nothing to do with proximity to anything else. It's just any 30 homes or more would require.
It could potentially have with proximity to something else that would fall within the staff recommendation, or we've seen several developments. Aiden Woods, for example. The Aiden Woods Phase 2 had 35 homes in it. Our threshold was 100. It didn't require anything. Aiden Woods Phase 3 had 85 homes in it. Those two together were over 100, but because they came in as separate projects, didn't require anything. Aiden Woods Phase 4 had another 20 homes in it. It, as a standalone, wouldn't require anything, but that is a common plan of development for phases of a development, or what they were called phases, but they were all individual projects. And so that common plan of development would have required multiple traffic studies. Even Phase 2 would have required a traffic study because it was over 30 homes.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, if I may, that's a requirement. The discretion is in whether you would approve it, require it for a smaller than 30
Correct.
units. But there's no discretion if it's 30 or more, it must be done, and that's not going to be waived.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I'm going to add a little.
If you make that amendment.
Mayor, if I may add, I think for some context on that too, the deeper conversation around it was location has a lot to do with things, right? So putting it at just a lot count is hard to determine where that threshold would be, and this just gives flexibility to where it might only be a 25 home development, but if it's on a road that's not even ready to handle 10 cars an hour, let alone 25 cars dumping out onto it from a neighborhood, gives us the right to just see if there's a needed improvements to the roads and that sort of thing.
But if I recall, the original recommendation was for all developments. It didn't have the 30 minimum, isn't that right?
The original public draft had 50 homes. Our staff reduced it to all developments. And then the Planning Commission made a recommendation to bring that to 30.
In context to that, it was the exact opposite, right? So if you had a 20-lot development that's out in the middle of nowhere that has zero impact on anything around it, to add, because I mean, that cost just gets passed on as the home buyer, so there's no reason to require an expensive traffic study to be completed on a development that no matter what's learned from that study, it's not going to change anything.
No. I don't favor a lot of discretion put into spaces. I like it clear, but that makes sense. Thanks for explaining it that way.
Well, and also staff has the ability, if they feel like it's a situation where they need to require a traffic study, they can do that.
Thank you. I don't know if everyone else got this email. I think that Mr. Greer was aware of it, but just because it was sent to me by somebody who represents Ryan Homes, I wanted to bring it up and ask that the concern about CD4 and the language restricting garage is the lot size width being problematic. Can we talk about that? Because I think that you were aware of that too. And since it was sent to me, I wanted to bring it up and
I am aware of it, and I did speak to that representative who sent that over. The garage size, the interior dimension is the piece that was brought to our attention. The interior dimension of the garages did change between the public draft and the final draft due to citizens' comments. Surprisingly, I never thought so many people cared about what garages, we all use them, but there were a ton of comments about how garages needed to be a little bit larger. And so your traditional garage, a lot of times is somewhere around 20 to 21, 22 feet by 20 to 21, 22 feet. We bumped it up to 24 by 24 for an interior dimension. That was a consistent recommendation that we got from several citizens that they would love to see, to have a couple extra feet to get in and out of their vehicle, for storage within their garage space, and to be able to have a couple extra feet. That was one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we got during citizens' comments. And so we put it in there as a response to what our citizens were asking for. I do realize that most home plans do not reflect a 24 by 24 interior dimension of a garage for a minimum dimension, unless it is a very custom home. And it will require, the person who sent an email in was concerned about the redesign of products that they have on their shelf, and it will require a structural redesign for trusses and different pieces in that nature. But like I mentioned to them, this entire book will require a redesign of their entire layout, for architectural standards, for their structural standards, for their roofs, their trusses, and every other piece. So I suggested that they might as well start going ahead and redesigning.
Well, and that's another question that I received from somebody. So when I get questions, I want to bring them out, whether I feel like I can dive into them with a lot of knowledge or not. I've never done a development code redesign before, but one of the questions was, and this would be something I would ask either you, Mr. Greer, or our TPUDC friends, or maybe even Mr. Doherty or Mr. Carter to respond to, is the jurisdiction that we have to decide on materials, design, dimensions, just because it's a question that was raised to me. So by what authority do we have to pass a development code like this?
We'll let the man who wrote it speak to it first.
As I understand it, it depends on what kind of, I'm really tired, municipality you are, whether your charter has in it your zoning powers, or whether it's just zoning powers coming from the state. And I don't know which you have. There have been some challenges to whether or not you can regulate materials. There is a state statute that is tucked way over in a hiding place that I can't find on any 2 days in a row. It's in such a hiding place. And it's all about the building code. It has nothing to do with actually zoning. It's a building code provision, but I think that one of the kind of track builder, production builder companies probably had somebody sitting there at the table and said, this is a great place to tuck that in, and nobody will ever notice it. So you're not prohibited from doing it. You can't favor or penalize one material over another if they have the same performance, if they perform the same way. So it's really an odd section, but that's what it is. And we ran into it originally in Columbia, and Columbia ended up putting their provisions in anyway, and we wrote a provision that actually addresses it exactly in the way that the state statute does.
So you're saying, and just to repeat, there's no prohibition on us doing this as long as we're treating like materials the same across the board. Okay, thank you.
And in my time meeting with Columbia, we did change a couple pieces of our materials within there to fall more in alignment with how they have interpreted the document, and how they're utilizing the document and making it clearer for people to understand.
Great. So while we're also because the questions were asked, so I think that there's some confusion about where we are as far as the amount of money that we've spent on this and what we still have remaining to go through this part. And I spoke with Mr. Greer, and I just want to address that too, to say, and please, feel free to supplement. I'm also getting tired, so my brain's firing a little slower, but that we are still well within the contractual amount to do these edits and the changes, and we are not facing any sort of overage on what we contracted to for the work that's being done. Is that correct, or are there some,
We have not utilized every dollar within our contract as of today.
Great, thank you.
How would that be affected if we didn't approve this in 2 readings?
Ultimately, our contract states that TPUDC has an obligation to be here for a meeting, to be a partner here to answer any questions that y'all may have. Once you make any amendments, and the final draft is made, we will get those back over to TPUDC to make the final document. Outside of tonight and the amendments, I don't see a tremendous amount of expenditure. Are y'all?
Do you mind going to the mic? Because I know that people are at home are curious about every question we have.
Yeah. It really just depends on how many amendments there may be. Typically, at the stage where you get to your second reading, there are very few amendments made to a document like this, very few. And so the contract doesn't cover any amendments past what we've already delivered, actually. If there's a tweak here and a tweak there, we don't mind doing that at all. The alternative would be for staff to make the changes as opposed to us make the changes. So.
I'm gonna ask one more thing. Mr. Greer, I'm sure we all have small questions here and there that may not be discussion worthy that we might just want to send over to you.
They're all discussion worthy.
Oh, thanks. Well, and like little small things, could we send those to you and perhaps just get the sort of compilation before the next meeting so we can all review and then decide how we want to go, so that.
Yes, I would love if anybody sent me any questions.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
Thank you. Really quick, would it be beneficial to have another workshop just on these 9 items that you have here? I see Mr. Carter nodding his head, yes. Is that something that we vote on or agree on?
Necessary vote on it. I think you just tell Ethan you want another work session if the majority of you do, and then he'll get it scheduled. I think the debate is good and the conversation's good. I think it's bad at a voting meeting to have this much discussion because it means that we're really unsettled. And so it would be better to be more settled when we get to this point so we can make motions and dispose of them quickly. And that's not what we're doing, not what we're doing currently, which is fine. I mean, we can sit here. That's fine. Yeah, I mean,
Work session, from what I'm gathering, it seems, I agree with Mr. Carter, it seems like there may be more to discuss than what could be accomplished in an hour. If we were to schedule a work session, I think it would probably be best to start at 9 a.m. and just go until we're done. It seems like an hour probably is not an appropriate amount of time. And for pushing for that, you would have all city staff here during the day, and that would be able to accommodate as many questions as you could ask in a large amount of time.
So we'll start 9 a.m. on a weekday?
It would be on a weekday at
Okay.
9
Who
a.m.
can do that besides me?
I could do that.
Okay.
and to that end, and so the public knows, I asked Ethan and Rachel to print out a copy of these amendments that Ethan has summarized from the Planning Commission, and now each of you have it. And it'd be put in the packet in the meeting minutes.
I don't think an all day would be necessary,
Oh,
especially if we
I
have it
think
in front of us,
Probably
but
would.
I
This is the
I
way
thought
we're
this was
going
just the beginning from the
right now.
conversation. There's
Right.
only 9 items on this sheet of paper. I
Right,
thought
exactly.
it sounded like there were several questions or more than 9 items that might need to be discussed.
there will be.
I can do it any Wednesday except next Wednesday. The rest of the time I'm working.
Well, right now, aren't we scheduled to do our second vote on this on March 5th?
We are.
So we potentially would be altering that timeline. Because I don't have my calendar in front of me, because I don't have my personal phone on me. So I don't know, but a weekday is a little challenging and I'd have to take it off in advance, so.
I mean, if it comes up on March 5th, you just defer it that date to the next meeting, so that happens all the time.
Yeah,
We could still have the public hearing on March 5th.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that has already been
That's already been
advertised,
advertised.
and we've spent a significant amount of money advertising that. And then defer the voting
For
item,
the
yes.
vote, yeah. Yeah, I'm all for another public hearing, for sure. So what's our plan? Are we going to just let this lie and submit questions to?
I'm not ready to vote on it, so
Well, someone needs to
Ethan?
make a motion.
I'll make a
and then
motion
second.
to defer then.
Second.
Okay.
You defer to when, Mayor?
Some date in the future that we're all ready to vote on it, I
If she
guess.
doesn't
I don't know.
specify it, then it would be 30 days, the next, the meeting in 30 days, so. In a proper,
In
in a
between
proper
that time, We
discussion,
would have a work
Yeah,
session to discuss the amendments
yeah, that,
that are proposed.
Ms. Jones, is the resolution tonight, just for a point of clarification, does the resolution call for the public hearing to be held on March 5th? No, that is already noticed.
It has been advertised to have the public hearing on March 5th.
Okay.
That will be our required public hearing. The one that was tonight was not technically required.
I have a question, Mayor. Would it be possible, just, again, thought exercise here, takes 2 readings, need to have a public hearing, in the off chance that between now and March 5th, those of us that have questions find some time to maybe speak with you individually and seek the answers that we look for, or we were seeking, and we find them. And we come to the March 5th meeting fully prepared to vote, have no further questions. We've now deferred everything 30 days. I'm wondering if the best course of action would be to vote on the first reading, set the public, since the public hearing is already notified and out there, gives us an opportunity to get the questions we are looking for or answers we're looking for. If we don't find them, come the second reading, we can defer that. We've checked all the boxes that we're obligated to check, and now it's just us coming to terms with what we have and voting. That seems the cleanest way to me, but.
I mean, you could do that, except that if you have a question and someone else probably has the question, and then Ethan's answering the same questions, 4 or 5 different times over the, and sometimes you don't know you have a question until you hear someone else ask the question.
And the public is not
And the public is not part of.
involved in our
part of-
questions with Ethan.
Yep.
That's behind closed doors, which I don't think is a good idea either.
Well, I mean, it's permissible because it's not a public meeting, but I think the point the mayor makes is a good point, that if one of you has a question, then it may be best to address it in public, preferably during a work session. To Mr. McDonald's point, or Commissioner McDonald's point, I mean, you could just pass it on first reading as amended currently, and then defer it in 30 days, until you've had a work session and resolved any conflict or nuance, and then eventually approve it on second reading. So, I mean, but that's a legislative decision that I don't get paid to make. You all do.
We have a motion to defer and a second on the table, and that overrides any other motion.
It does, yeah,
Does,
Except for,
unless it's withdrawn.
I had a part 2 question. Does deferring it tonight, not taking action at the first reading, have any impact on the scheduled public hearing on the 5th?
No.
Okay.
You still
it
have
does
your
not,
public.
it does not have a impact on the public hearing on the 5th. It would, however, so 30 days, that would move it to the first reading would be resumed on, or brought back on March 19th, with the second and final reading of May 2nd. April 2nd, sorry.
Mayor?
Commissioner Buffalini?
So we already have the motion, we already have the amendment. Does the amended get negated, or does that still stand?
Well, so it's, the motion to defer would, so we were discussing the item, we amended it, right? And then we're going to defer the vote on the main item, so it would still be amended the next time you bring it up. We would just start the debate from where we are currently, or the discussion, I guess.
Thank you for the clarification.
Is that right? I'm tired too.
The only thing that overrules a deferral would be to call the question.
No, but I'm not talking about the Roberts Rule part. I'm talking about the item as amended currently. Would
The
be
item, it would,
where we would start.
we would start back there, yes.
Yes.
So for clarification, what are we voting on?
Voting on your motion to defer the item as it is currently.
Okay.
And it's
All
been
right.
first and seconded, so unless someone wants to debate it further, it's time to vote.
All right, Ms. Jones?
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Buffalini,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor McDonald,
Aye.
Motion to defer for
30 days.
30 days passes 5-0. Item E, ordinance 2026-03, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of Fairview, Tennessee by rezoning a 5.38 plus or minus acre parcel located at 7320 Northwest Highway, consisting of Williamson County Tax Map 021, parcel 056.07, from RS 40, single-family residential, to R20, 1 and 2 family residential, property owner Ryan and Jesse Winkle. Mr. Greer.
This item comes to you, you saw it last meeting as an annexation. This is the rezoning piece of this. With the annexation application, the applicant submitted a rezoning request as well to R20. If it is annexed, it will be RS40. You have the public hearing and the second final read on annexation of this at your next meeting. But tonight is for a first reading of the rezoning request and to set the public hearing date for this item. There is a representative tonight to answer any questions that you may have.
To approve.
Second.
Ms. Corolla?
Good evening,
Sorry.
everyone. No worries. I'm Allison Corolla from T-Square Engineering. We're located at 111 Southeast Parkway Court in Franklin. Here to answer you any questions you guys may have. I know you've seen this several times in recent history, but again, here to answer any questions.
I have a question, but I think that this is for Ethan. May I? Thanks. Okay, so we just talked about traffic studies. And with this one, I think we've talked about this before. If you can help me remember, please, Ms. Corolla, the number of units on this one is like 25 or something. And then it's
14.
14, thank you. And then it is also contiguous to another plan. But right now, no traffic study would be required for.
That's correct.
So if we were to rezone it now, there wouldn't be a traffic study. There would be no analysis based on the impact that this would have on Northwest Highway. But if we don't rezone it and it came back around, it would be under the new code the next time it came back
And it
around.
still would be under the 30.
But it would be contiguous to another.
It would be part of a common plan of development.
Thank you for the right words. I appreciate that. Yes, a common plan of development, which would mean that it would require a traffic study. Okay, I want to make sure I understand that properly. Thank you.
Vice Mayor McDonald?
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a while. I don't think you all ever did a traffic study in that area, but there was a lot of discussion around Northwest Highway realignment and the creation of a road going through one of the, I'm not sure which neighborhood development over there.
Belvoir.
Belvoir. So can you just, to that point, can you talk about just your involvement with that, anything you
Absolutely.
took into consideration, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So these initially came in as 3 separate developments. I believe, I'm a little fuzzy on the time, maybe Mr. Greer can help me. I believe Belvoir came in first. That was the very first property that came before you. That started out as 16 lots, I believe, and so it was underneath the threshold. We were utilizing existing roadways. That's kind of where that started. And then this came in as Orange-Shire Phase 1, which is the 20 lots directly to the east that has already been built out in large part. And then we saw Woodwick come in, Woodwick Phase 1, which Dries has now potentially committed to developing. And so they're kind of lumping these into the same HOA. And so that's just the reason that you see the Orange-Shire naming on this phase. Belvoir does remain a completely separate entity. I know we had discussions earlier about HOAs. It will be its own HOA. It is its own development, its own builder, separate entity altogether. So this would only be consolidated with the L-shaped parcel that you see around it, and then the 7 acre parcel that you see directly south of us. So does that help kind of clarify a little bit? It is kind of playing puzzle pieces at some point.
Mayor. So this is helpful, and I appreciate this conversation. So when a traffic study is done, would it, how would it assess traffic? What exactly is it going to look at? Just this parcel, or would it take into consideration all those other parcels that also surround?
I think that would be up to the discretion of city engineer as to how we would proceed.
There would be a discussion on the scoping of that traffic impact study. If any TDOT right-of-ways are involved, they get involved, but I think for this particular situation, they wouldn't. So we would come to a decision on what intersections would be studied, and then review that traffic impact study.
And just something to note too, of course, the intention, this is just a rezoning before you, but the concept plan, as it stands, is not to provide any additional public right-of-way. We are simply utilizing the existing public right-of-way that's already been approved before you guys through a development plan on both Orange Shire Phase 2 and 3. So no new additional roads tapping into, or new driveways tapping into Northwest Highway.
But there would still be additional vehicles.
Sure, I just wanted to clarify,
Yeah.
no additional roads.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
for
ma'am.
that. Yeah, yeah. And I think since we are so close on our new zoning ordinance, and we have had so much about traffic studies that we're discussing, and I've been saying this for a really long time, I don't want a lot of rezoning when we're still phasing this out. I think that's really worth the board considering.
Ms. Jones?
Vice Mayor McDonald?
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts?
Nay.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Buffalini?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Item 11E passes 4-1. Item F, discussion, Commissioner Buffalini. Number 1.
Number one was administrative communications. So something I just wanted to discuss briefly. I'm just looking for some more communication from our city manager as far as what's going on. The only time, at least me, I can't speak for everyone on this board, but the only time I get any updates is when I'm sitting up here. And I would just like to get some additional updates or what's going on in the city, because what's happening is I'm getting texts or phone calls from city citizens, constituents that are telling me what's going on in our city prior to me having any knowledge of any of it, which means that people are speaking to others prior to us, and then they're calling us with questions, and I don't know what they're discussing or what they're talking about. And I think that puts our abilities as commissioners in a hindrance. So I would just like to maybe come up with some sort of a plan of how we can communicate a little bit better between administration and city commissioners. I'm leaving that open for discussion. One of the items that I wanted to discuss was possibly getting a weekly email from our city manager of what processed in the past week and what can we look forward to in the following week. That's open for discussion.
In reference to what?
In reference, I don't understand, in reference, what do you mean?
I mean, what are you,
I'm asking,
like anything at all? Or just in specific, like,
well, I think right now we should start with anything at all, because right now I'm getting nothing. And I'm getting emails and texts, and like I said, phone calls from citizens letting me know what's going on in the city.
do they really know what's going on, or are they just presuming?
Oh, no, after tonight's meeting and something that our city manager said, confirmed that what was told to me on several different items has been confirmed to be truthful.
Can you elaborate, just,
Yeah, so basically, that we're heading into a contract with a grapple truck on the 16th of March. Basically, that there's a cleanup crew coming on a specific date. I wasn't made aware of that. I don't have any emails stating that that's the issue until you confirmed it today in your conversation earlier for your citizen,
city manager
city
report?
manager report. Thank you. So I'm just looking for some more clarification of what happened this past week and what's happening next week. What can we look forward to next week? Like, do you have anything that you're working on that you can share with us on a weekly email, perhaps? Because we're not able to come to staff meetings, or perhaps you can give us a summary of a staff meeting that you have every week. And I know that we're not allowed to attend these staff meetings, but I know that one board member is coming to these staff meetings. I would just like to have a little bit more information of what's happening in our city.
Richard Ross usually puts out everything that's going on our city website, doesn't he? I mean, that's where I get the
Probably,
information.
Just
We don't talk
a
about
lot
that
of
stuff in staff
items
meeting.
that I try to. A lot of items that you're discussing. I think the only commissioner that I mentioned this to was Commissioner Roberts. I said it was a tentative. I really don't like to put tentative information out, which tends to grow legs of its own. We were working on a plan. I guess I could have emailed the board, I'm working on a plan. But when we get to this, it's not necessarily news until y'all vote. I mean, y'all could go two other options. So I guess I can email you. I'm talking with Williamson County EMA. We're working on this. I'm looking for answers for this. I'm working with the contractors, seeing what options we have. I always feel like I'm more efficient getting those answers and bringing them to you once I have them, but that's been my theology. Thank you.
Well, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but me personally, I would just appreciate some more information of what's going on in the city. That's one of the.
I can do a weekly email. I can do a summary of our staff meetings. Our staff meetings really primarily have nothing to do
They have nothing to do
with anything I think you're looking for. We're basically just making sure we're doing operational things that we need to be doing. But I don't mind getting you more information.
Well, I appreciate that. And we don't know what happens in the staff meetings because we're not there. I know that our mayor's there, but we're not, and we're not allowed to discuss anything. So Mayor Anderson can't call me and say, hey, did you know we're talking about this? So we can't have those conversations, but we can get the conversation from you or the information from you. I think that would be great. So if it's good for one, it should be good for everyone sitting up here, is what I'm
So
asking.
would you like me to send out the board an email on Tuesdays? And that's when our staff meetings are. I'll try to remember to update you if we cancel that. And then I can try to send out an email Fridays. As we go, let me know how much detail, but I'm telling you, I work an average of about 51 hours a week, and they're always very, very full. So I don't have 2 or 3 hours a week to email, but I can send something out. But a lot of times I try to get y'all information once I have it. But anyway, I can do a Friday email and see how that goes. See if it helps.
Well, and if I can weigh in, I think that this actually kind of refers back to the conversation we had during the workshop today about communication about the economic development officer position and the comments that were made by a citizen earlier. It all stems to a communication gap, which I'm not ascribing any kind of intention. I think what we're seeing is that for those of us who are new, we don't have the same kind of daily access to a lot of things. So for something like this natural disaster with the ice storm and the ideas that are coming out, we're getting asked a lot. And I think social media has maybe changed how fast people expect information, or if they tag me online, that raises the sort of sense of needing to have a response. And so I think that there might be some things that we say we would flag as a sort of a compulsory, like, okay, we've got this natural disaster. Maybe we set up a cadence on how frequently an update could come out to us. Or something like with the economic development position, something that I was maybe going to mention during my comments, but I think it's more fitting in this moment is something like, we didn't know about an announcement coming out the next week when we were sitting listening to the report, saying we just want information. And I can understand that comes across as pushy in some ways, but also we're asking for information. I think that Mr. Carter was helpful in identifying how we can bridge some of those gaps, which is the ultimate goal. So to also be clear, the ultimate goal is for everyone to be successful and for us to work really well as a board with the city staff. But I think that it's the communication that maybe worked well before we came in, but we're not plugged in the same ways. And I don't know if I'm saying this well, but I think that's probably the best way I can think of to say it, that I hope is a helpful way, is like, I don't feel like I want staff minutes, but when it's something that's important for the board to know. So when we have big projects coming, so that we wouldn't be blindsided by something like a $20 million project announcement. So it would be nice to know that we've got something big coming, so that we don't feel like we're not getting any information out of an area and that nothing's happening. There are avenues to take, and I think the effort to improve that communication would be helpful. There was a quick conversation. We were brought in and told in advance, right before the announcement was made, but that was right before the announcement was made. We did not know that there was anything in the works that was that close the week before, and we were getting a report. And again, I understand confidentiality, and you don't have to breach confidentiality to share certain types of information. But I think there's a heightened expectation from the people who are reaching out to us for more communication. And so I'd like to have productive conversation about that and think about what we need and how that might work without being unduly burdensome to you or to like the PIO or Mr. Carter or anybody.
Exactly, and not necessarily the staff meeting. I don't need minutes from that. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for, say, like, hey, I just want to let the board know that I'm in conversation with a contractor that's going to be cleaning up the city. Or I'm reaching out to 3 different contractors that we're looking at cleaning up the city. Just a direction, just so we have some sort of understanding. It doesn't have to be specifically who it is and what's the cost or anything like that, but just, hey, this is what I'm working on, that you might get questions, because I get questions all the time. And it's just frustrating to get the information from people that don't work here or are not elected on this board.
Well, and it goes two ways. Y'all can email me. I try to get answers out. So, I'm fine with sending out a weekly. And I thought about that. And and it's just, you get to working and you're looking at 6 o'clock and it's time to go home. But I will put that in my schedule and tweak it. Let me know, hey, I'd like it a little bit this. But then I was like, well, if I had any more information, I'd give it to you. Or a lot of things. I mean, I've gone down the rabbit hole a long way. I'm thinking I'm going this direction, and then you find out there's a better way. So
right, and I appreciate that, I really do. But what I'm saying is that I just want to, because I don't think, like, I know that you have an open door policy that we can go and sit with you at any time. I get it, or call you or email you. But I don't think that's fair to the rest of the board. If I have something, or if you have something, please share it with the board. That's all I'm asking for, is just communication. I think it should be open and valid, and so that we can address it when we get questioned by citizens.
Didn't you have
I
Mr.
totally agree with
Horton-
that, and I think the more communication we have is always better.
Didn't
Correct,
you
thank
have
you.
Mr. Horton come out immediately? I mean, I remember a meeting where he came out and told us all of this.
Yes, I believe just
And it was before
just
tonight.
maybe weekly communication. I can handle that.
Thank you.
So if I may, communication's good. Too much communication's not productive and interferes with how the city manager does his job. In the way this works in most cities is the city manager sends a high-level email Friday afternoon about the week behind and the week ahead, but it's high level. And then if you have specific questions that you're getting from constituents, then it's appropriate for you to email a city manager, hey, I'm getting this question, how do I respond? I do think it goes both ways. I do think you raise a valid point, Commissioner Buffalini and Commissioner Roberts, and I think Tom can work in a short email that's high level, and then if there's questions that you have about that, you can only reply to him. Don't reply all, because then we'll start a communication or start a discussion or deliberation. Does that sound good to everybody? I think that's appropriate and doesn't unduly interfere with his management, because your job as a board is not to micromanage or be involved in every single item that's happening at City Hall. It's to determine, set policy, and then pass resolutions and ordinances that are in furtherance of the policy that you're trying to establish, or of the agenda that you're trying to establish. It's his job to commandeer and run the staff meetings. I've been to staff meetings. Typically the mayor does not attend staff meetings. That's Mayor Anderson's choice to do that. I would never want to attend a staff meeting if I were you all. I mean, they're not. Well, I'll just leave it at that.
Well, one instance is, like today, for instance, we got an email, but that email from Mr. Doherty, and that email was sent to him last week. And we're just getting it today, giving us an update of the interstate lighting. So that's what I'm saying. So if I email, I would expect, and that leads into my second, the citizens' correspondence to departments, is I would expect some sort of accounting onto time frame of response. So getting an update on something that you already had a week ago, and we're just getting it today, I mean, doesn't help our situation. So I'm asking for kind of like, hey, this happened this last week, and next week I'm working on this, and oh, by the way, we just got update on the interstate lighting, and I apologize. I know everyone's tired. I'm just trying to.
I'm not tired. Let's keep going. I'm good.
These are just certain items. That's all.
I've been guilty of, yeah, I'm gonna respond to that, and then I usually average between 70 to 100 emails a day, and it sits down and I get down to it, and I said, oh man, I should have sent that out, but I'll get it out. But I do appreciate you wanting things more timely, and I will try to do better. But I wanted to make sure you got the information.
Right, and thank you for that. But it's not just you. I mean, it's also the citizens. They're emailing departments, and we just want to get readily quicker responses to them, because or a response period. I mean, sometimes they don't even get a response. And I know that we're lacking in certain departments of support, and I know we're working on that. And I'm not picking on any department in particular, but I just wanted to put that out there, because these are things that come up to us, to me, as a commissioner, and I would just like to address it. That's all.
Thank you.
So that basically covered 1 and 2 at the same time. And item 3, I don't mind putting that off, because that's a longer discussion.
No, go ahead, because I have comments on that. Go ahead.
I don't mind putting that off until the next meeting.
Well, since it's on the agenda, I'll say a few words. I did want to ask if the volunteer effort during the storm gets counted for volunteer hours towards our EMA. And I have a reason for asking that.
We've already turned in our information. If we had that information while it was going on, I believe it would have, but I think the deadline for us to turn in that is already passed.
Well, I got an accurate count of who was served at the warming station. That was 48. So I assume the other, 50 people were volunteers. So that's what I'm asking about.
EMA should have been tracking that, and that may have gone to our benefit.
I'm just concerned that since everybody was asked to sign a general piece of paper when they walked in the building, whether they were being served or serving, if we had a situation where we divided that out to be able to get credit for who was volunteering.
We may have gotten credit, and I'm not aware of it, but I do know they were keeping up with people that were coming and going, and the volunteers and this, and I'm sure that got turned in the more I think about it. Or I feel confident, pretty confident.
Wasn't EMA running the warming center? Like they were involved, so they probably, since they collected
did
it.
ask, Don or Commissioner Buffalini to provide the accurate number, so they must not have known the number, or they wouldn't have asked him to provide it, in my opinion.
Well, that number was given to me by the Franklin firefighter, Dan Donegan. So that was he's the one who was keeping track of all of that. And when you asked EMA for numbers, he didn't have it in front of him at that moment because he was dealing with the state of, rather the county, and going through a lot. So he didn't have those numbers currently. So he asked me for assistance. I assisted him because I was at that facility, and I did have those numbers, and I did have that conversation with him prior to the meeting.
I just thought it was important that if there were 48 people served and 50 volunteers, that we get credit for those 50 volunteers. That's all I'm saying. Because we need as much credit as we can get towards this 12% to keep our taxpayer dollars low towards this event.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and if I can, I did ask that question when Mr. Horton was here, and all of the hours starting at the day of the storm event through the emergency period, which is still underway, will be counted. So everything. So if people are still volunteering, all of it will be counted starting on that Saturday night. And so it's not too late to put it in. Mm-hmm.
And just for clarification, there was 108 people that utilized the shelter as a warming shelter, not volunteers.
I was told by Franklin it was 48 yesterday. So, anyway.
Commissioner Buffalini.
Sure.
I know that this item was placed on the agenda. I know we still have one item left to get to. But our fire chief was exclusively here for this item tonight. So I know that he would love for the discussion to be had if you have any questions for him on it.
For citywide emergency?
Correct.
So all right, so we...
Chief Hughes, please come forward, and since you've been here all night, so we can discuss this with you too.
But he comes to every meeting, so...
No?
Almost
No,
every
he
meeting.
doesn't.
Almost every
Why,
meeting.
why,
No,
were-
he
Mayor,
doesn't.
Mayor, can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
While we're waiting for everyone to settle in, I think the first thing I would love to see on your email from us is letting us know the cost to the city of Fairview per hour to hold these meetings, just so we're all aware of the cost that we bring upon the city to sit around and cackle about whatever the heck we are talking about.
I'd be happy to.
That's why I wanted to put this off for a little bit. So now that our fire chief is here and I've been...
I'll hope to answer your questions. I'm not sure if I have all the answers, but
I don't know if necessarily I have a question. This is just for
Okay.
discussion items, that's all. So citywide emergency response plan, I know that the city has something. I know that each department has something, but I'm wondering if there's something that we can do to give more knowledge to our citizens in an event like what we just went through. Would there be I know that some people have to subscribe to a text or to an email. Not everybody does that. Not everybody has Facebook. Is there another way that we can get information to them? Maybe have it out now when there's not an emergency, or after this state of emergency is complete, to put a number out there that people can call, and it will be an AI voicemail just directing people in a natural emergency, or give them information now when we don't have the situation, where to go in these situations, like do a presentation. It doesn't have to be during a board meeting. I would just like to give more knowledge and information to our citizens about what to do in future events. A lot of people didn't even know about the warming shelters. If this happens again, hey, guess what? You now know that there's a warming shelter in place. Or if we can have, like I was talking, a Connex box with supplies in there for 200, 300 people, whatever it is. So that's something that I had spoken with EMA about. We had a meeting about that.
well, I know the city may not have the availability for this, but I know Williamson County, which we participate as an entity in their emergency management plan, and that's what we operated under during the ice storm. They can do reverse 911 calling, but they're not going to do it for every like a ice event or anything like that. It's for emergencies because they want to use it to make sure people get it and don't get tired of always getting a message. So I'm not sure that the city has something other than Nixle and the city website, the social media pages to notify those, because usually those notifications are, more far-reaching and more, I know the ice storm was an event, but it wasn't necessarily a disaster, well, state of emergency, but I'm not sure that they would use that reverse 911 because they didn't use it anywhere else in the county.
Right. But one of the things I'm suggesting is, say, God forbid, there's a tornado that rips through Williamson County, not just Fairview, or the outskirts, and it comes through, and now EMA can't get to us because we're on the outskirts of Williamson County. Are we prepared to, what's our preparation is what I'm asking. What I would like to do is instruct everybody now when there's not an emergency of, in an emergency event, where do you go? Where is there a shelter? Do we have a shelter here in Fairview?
We do not have a shelter. The city does not have a shelter.
Right.
But also coming up with a plan for somewhere for people to go in advance, we don't know. Well, what if the tornado took out the area that we told people to go to in advance? And we've already told them to go there. I think some of it's just kind of as the event occurs that we have to make some decisions and then get it out the best we can. I don't think you can necessarily set totally predetermined things. Like I wouldn't tell people to come somewhere that we don't know is going to be available in advance. But I know there's options. I don't know what the cost is. I know you talked about a Connex box. I'm not sure we have the resources to have that in place all the time, because not only do we have to secure the property, we have to maintain it. You can't just let it sit in a Connex for 10 years, hoping because by the time you get ready to use it, it's not going to be usable. So it comes to a maintenance thing also. The county used several of the things that we have that they know we have. They use generators, light towers, the signboard at the warming center, and they called and asked us for that stuff. We were able to provide it for them. So we do have things that are useful in their emergency plan, and they know to contact us if they have needs for those things.
Right. And I appreciate that. But I know that other cities do have some sort of emergency plan for their citizens. That's all I was asking for. This isn't, it's just a discussion. That's all. We're not budgeting anything, or it was
And like I
just a
said,
discussion.
I'm sure there's some things to do. I'm not sure what our ability to have those resources are. I mean, they all come with a cost.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Other questions?
Anyone else have a question of Chief Hughes? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 11G. Resolution 09-26. A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute authorized user agreements for emergency debris removal and emergency debris monitoring services for the city of Fairview, Tennessee. The State of Tennessee Department of General Services Central Procurement Office has competitively procured statewide contract for emergency debris removal services and emergency debris monitoring services for local governments affected by winter storm. Contracts permit local governments to participate as an authorized user and obtain services under the state's negotiated terms and pricing. The City of Fairview desires to enter into an authorized user agreement for such services in order to ensure timely debris removal and monitoring following emergency events. And the authorized user agreement are attached hereto as Exhibit A, debris removal services, and Exhibit B, debris monitoring services. It is resolved that the Board of Commissioners that the mayor be authorized and directed to execute the authorized user agreements for emergency debris removal and emergency debris monitoring services on behalf of the city of Fairview, attached here to Exhibit A and Exhibit B.
Motion to approve. Right? Are we there?
Yeah, I was just waiting for a second.
Second.
All right, any discussion on debris removal?
Mayor, I just want to make sure that this document, since it was added late, will be added to the electronic version of the tonight, whenever, tomorrow, I suppose. Okay, so that people can read it and we'll see it. Thank you.
I just wanted to add that this is not the city's only option. Other cities have left it up to the homeowner, the property owner, to clean up the debris on their property and take no action whatsoever. That's an option. Another option is some cities are using their own resources and then hiring a monitoring company to do it, which we would never get it. I don't know. I was talking to Todd, and I don't know. We may or may not could get it done in a year and a half, and then you would just shut down all other public works services. They'd be doing that the whole time, and then we'd have to rent. We don't have the equipment currently to do it. We'd have to rent equipment. So it's really, I think when you put the dollars to it, it would be more expensive going that route over a year and a half, year and a half, however long it take. Plus the cutting out all the other services they do, it would probably not the best route. I feel like this is the best route. If we get the 12.5%, it would be about 87,500 would be what the city would be, and then of course any of that volunteer stuff that got turned in would go towards that as well. But to me, I thought it was the best option to at least bring the board and give you all a choice to make this decision. Thank you.
Mayor.
Commissioner Roberts?
Thank you. Mr. Doherty, thank you for that, and thank you for your leadership into this, because we definitely needed to be moving that forward, and I appreciate that we're thinking of a way to help instead of leaving it up to individual homeowners. But my question is, we've got spring storms coming, and we don't know what that brings. So would doing this put us in a better position to manage if we do have tornadic activity or something else, that the city will be in a better position and the people will be in a better position than if we attempted to manage this on our own?
Oh, by far, we would just keep doing business as usual. We would go straight into chipping, and April 1st, we would keep doing our normal routine if we went this route.
Thank you.
I was just kind of thinking of a tornado coming through, and then we wouldn't have to worry about the twigs, right? I don't know. That's what I was thinking of. Anyway, tornadic activity.
One
I was
quick
thinking,
thing
wow.
I do want to note, if you are stacking debris, be mindful of how high you stack it, especially at intersections, because it can block sight distance and cause accidents, so just be mindful.
And fall over into the street.
Do you have a recommendation on how high?
Back to my report, 3.5 feet is our typical sight distance in a residential car, so keep it under 3 feet, probably be the best option.
Especially around stop signs at intersections.
And don't stack it around a fire hydrant. And also, I have seen some that's protruding into the street because I weave around it every day. That is so dangerous. Just be careful not to stack it past your curb.
As I mentioned, we'll be making an announcement tomorrow if this passes. One other thing is we try to post on the website. We try to blast our social media. So, and Richard usually does a really good job of being timely on that. If you can't get a hold of me at the moment and you get a hold of Richard, he may have an answer as far as what's going on in emergency situations. But I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Well, and also, I just want to suggest if we're hearing from the community about things, don't always take that as gospel, because they may have heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody, and you know how that works. The end story may not be what the beginning is. So, always feel free. I mean, I reach out to Ethan and Rachel, Tom, Curtis all the time. If somebody, I don't take it upon myself to try to explain something to someone or think that they have the right answer or the right information. I get the communication, but also I think it's our responsibility too, if we hear something, not to think, oh, wow, that's actually what it is. I always go to the source and say, hey, I heard this, give me a little information on that. And it may be something that's being worked on and it's not to the end point yet, to where we don't want to get incomplete information that might change in a few days to give us a better, accurate ending of what the information is being, looked into, if that makes sense. I just don't trust anything unless I go to the source, because I just want to make sure that I have the accurate information. We ready to vote? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Roberts?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McDonald?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Buffalini?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye. 11G passes 5-0. Item 12, Roundtable Mayor and Commissioners. Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Mayor, rest of the board. Basically, I want to thank all the city employees and what all they've gone through in the last several days and what the community has pulled together and helped out. I just would like to still warn everybody, it's still a safety hazard out there with some of these trees. It's still, branches are still hanging down, so y'all be careful, even in your own yards. I had one other item that I was going to discuss, but I want to clear it with Mr. Carter first before I bring it to the board. So other than that, everyone have a good night, and thanks for everybody being here and all their input. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Buffalini?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. Congratulations to the middle school basketball team making it to the state stage. They've been working hard, and also good luck to our high school basketball team. They're heading to District 11 bracket playoffs, and they play Saturday night Creekwood. So if anyone's bored, it's a little bit of a drive, but it'll be fun. Thank you, staff. Thank you to all the volunteers, residents who continue showing up for our community. Tonight's discussions, we reflect what local government should be about. It's all about safety, accountability, and responsible growth. And I definitely appreciate the conversations that we had this evening. Clear communication, accountable leadership, smart growth decisions. It's how we move Fairview forward, and go the right way. We continue reviewing all the infrastructure, the safety, the accessibilities, development standards, and even emergency preparedness and whatever we can work out with that. These are not just policies. These directly affect our residents' daily lives, each and every item that we were discussing here tonight. Sometimes folks forget about the commitments that they made during campaign seasons or anything like that. Just my commitment that I have and I've kept is ask the hard questions, follow the data, and make decisions that are going to protect our city first and foremost. Fairview's growing, and with growth comes responsibility, and we all need, as a board of commissioners, as people that are voting, we all need to be responsible And if we lead with planning, communication, transparency, common sense, I think we're going to build a city to be what we really want it to be. We're going to continue building the city. We're going to continue building proud people, proud residents, and a place to call home. It's going to be wonderful. It doesn't matter how long you've lived here. It doesn't mean that you love, if you live here 50 years or 5 years, it doesn't mean that you love the city or this community any more than someone that's lived here their entire life or that they just moved here last week. Because they moved here for the same reason that we're all living here. And it's because we love Fairview and we want to give Fairview everything that we have. So what matters is that you choose to live here, be part of our community, because that's what makes Fairview strong, and that's who we are. Fairview is strong, and like I said, it doesn't matter if you've lived here, you just moved here yesterday, or you've been here 50 years. We're all here, we're all a community, we're all here for the same reasons, because we love our community. Thank you.
Commissioner Roberts?
Thank you, Mayor, Board, staff, for being here, everyone who's still listening. Just one point for discussion, and it's not to say that I don't appreciate the discussion items, but either Mr. Daugherty or Ms. Jones, maybe. I thought we decided a while ago that we were going to have work sessions for discussion items. Tucking them towards the end of really long meetings doesn't give us a full opportunity. Am I the only person that remembers that, like, discussion items were supposed to go to a work session?
I remember it.
And I want to give those their due time, but I think also for the sake of everybody, I'd like to ask that we do that again. It's not faulting anybody for it being on the agenda or putting it forward, but perhaps if we can collect those, and then when we have an amount that calls for an extra work session before a meeting, we could perhaps do that, and then also take into consideration what's coming up on the agenda. So if it's not an urgent issue, we might defer those early, not because they're not important, but they do need the time. Just a thought. Okay, yes, still log your hours in EMA if you are volunteering, and log your damage also, especially your primary residents, anything from the storm. You can do that on williamsonready.org. And as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, and I'll only mention it briefly, but not in an official city capacity, but in communication with United Way and working with other partners in the city. On Saturday, there is an opportunity to volunteer to help people with cleanup from storm damage. This is helping individual homeowners. If you are a homeowner and you need help, you can submit a 211 form on the United Way website if you need someone to help you. And then if you're a volunteer, you can either sign up on the hands-on website, or you can come to the Fairview Nutrition or United Way location, all in that same strip mall, at 8:30 on Saturday morning. Thank you.
Vice Mayor McDonald?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
I think Commissioner Roberts covered everything on the emergency side of the cleanup, so I'm going to not talk about that. I do appreciate Andrew Mitchell bringing up the fact that the county approved a resolution that it's not, it's just a recommendation to the state. When we were having our day on the Hill on Tuesday, this was a hot topic with the mayors of the cities who worked on the urban growth boundary for 2 solid years. And then 2 people decided to bring this to the county commission to make decisions for us in our annexations. Right now, we are reciprocal with the county with our fire and police. If someone wants to annex within our urban growth boundary and they want to pay taxes for those services that they're already getting, that's the decision that our city should make. And I will be bringing a resolution. I've already asked Ethan to write it up. It will be brought to the next board meeting. I've gotten communication from mayors of the different cities in our county. There's not one of them that is for this. So I appreciate Andrew Mitchell bringing that up today, that it is problematic. We will have an opportunity to read everything that's involved in that resolution that they want to go to the state. When we were having our day on the Hill, and State Representative Lee Reeves and Senator Jack Johnson were both there with a lot of other leaders, they are aware of this issue, and I feel like they will stand strong with the cities, especially after we've spent so much time. I did talk to County Mayor Rogers Anderson. He is not for this. And to let them put an extra layer on something we should have a decision on for our own city, none of the city mayors believe that that's a good idea. So that will be a resolution coming before us. Also, another thing we talked about, and I didn't know a lot about this until my daughter got seriously injured because she was run off the road by a 12-year-old on an e-bike. 4 months she could not work as a doctor in the ER because of the injury she sustained by this. What we talked about is how many children got these e-bikes that can go up to 30 to 40 miles an hour. That's not a bicycle. That is upwards of a miniature motorcycle when it goes that fast. And right now they ask us to let people in our communities know that until there's regulations put on these e-bikes, to please talk to your children. A lot of children got those for Christmas presents, and they can be very dangerous if they're not ridden properly. But there will be legislation coming down that will regulate helmets, age, and all of that. So I told them I would speak about that, and I did. So excited about our medical campus with our new emergency department. Ascension St. Thomas choosing Fairview is a game changer. There's a lot of doors that are opened. A lot of people have come to us wanting to put in 55 and older communities. You can't do that if you don't have the proper facilities. So with us, getting this 24-hour emergency department with a, campus where we'll have Dr. Sherwood will be a partner with that, DMA Medical. He will be moving there, and they will have mental health, looking into pediatrics, things that we've got so much good health care out here right now, but to add those things that we don't have will be just such a benefit to our community, not to mention it could be the difference between life and death. I've been in a couple situations, and one of them was I got bit by a snake, and taking that long to get to a hospital was really, it almost cost me my life. So I'm just glad that we're going to be able to serve our community that way and save lives. Anyway, thank you to all of our staff, everybody working on the zoning ordinance. Let's just get it right. And let's keep Fairview beautiful and pick up and not throw out. I entertain a motion to adjourn.